after Psychiatric report confirmed he's fit to stand trial. Colombo Tole, the prime suspect in the murder of 2 patients at Kenyatta National Hospital, had declined to respond to murder charges in July, prompting the court to order a mental assessment. During Thursday's virtual hearing, Judge Diana Pessah noted that she'd not yet seen the psychiatric report, but was informed of its findings. The court heard that the suspect was receiving treatment for diabetes and other health issues while in remand. The High Court in Nairobi has declared the process of delineating boundaries in Mandera County illegal. Justice Bahati Mwamuye, delivering judgment on Thursday, ruled that the decision to establish new boundaries communicated in June last year was undertaken without adequate public participation. Justice Mwamuye declared the process unconstitutional in a petition filed by Mandera East MP Hussein Abdi Rahman and his Lafay counterpart Muhammad Abdi. The MPs argued that the respondents, including Mandera Governor Adan Khalif and Land CS Alice Wahome, initiated the process unilaterally without following due process. Interior CS Kipchumba Murgor has emphasized the need for a peaceful and lasting solution to the ongoing land disputes between Migori and Narok residents. He was speaking in Migori County on Thursday, where he began his 6-day security tour of Nyanza region.
We know and we are aware that the Ministry of Lands is working hard to resolve the question of land. We continue to provide support in terms of alternative dispute resolution mechanism, peaceful resolution of land disputes through barazas and conversation with the members of the public. But we want to request the members of the public to become patient and use peaceful means, both court processes and alternative dispute resolution mechanisms.
Murgor, who held a security meeting at Migori County Commissioner's office in Migori Town, ordered illegal firearm holders to surrender them to their nearest police stations. Apologies for that. Former Cabinet Minister and long-serving Rongo legislator Charles Otieno will be laid to rest on October 2nd in Migori County. A family spokesperson who made the announcement on Thursday at the Lee Funeral Home said they are still holding meetings to finalize funeral arrangements. I'm having trouble playing the bite. Moving on, Otieno died at his Nairobi home on Sunday. He was 80. Kenya has condemned Israel's attack on Tuesday on a building in Qatar's capital, Doha, which left several people dead, injured others, and destroyed property. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs said the incident constituted a grave violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the state of Qatar, posing a serious threat to regional and international peace and security. Kenya called on all parties to exercise restraint, uphold the sovereignty and territorial integrity of other states, prioritize dialogue and diplomacy over violence, and commit to peaceful coexistence. According to Hamas, 5 of its members were killed when Israeli fighter jets targeted a residential compound where its negotiating team was meeting to discuss the latest U.S. ceasefire proposal. The gunman who shot dead U.S. right-wing youth leader Charlie Cook in a targeted killing remained at large on Thursday, but authorities said they have video images of the suspect and have recovered a high-powered rifle. Cook, a 31-year-old superstar on the Republican right, who was credited with helping Donald Trump return to the presidency last year, was shot while addressing a large crowd at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. The killing, described by the FBI as a targeted event, shocked a nation already reeling from political tensions half a year into Trump's second term. Authorities acknowledge the gunman remained at large after having escaped into Woodland. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is
statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody is human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases.
Decision has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing...
A lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
No. That's a lie. It's the 12th of September and it is 11 minutes after 6 o'clock. All right, got my numbers going. And, excuse me, just trying to get all the cobwebs out this morning and getting into it. So, karibu and a very, very good morning. Today, I'm going to shake things up a little bit and do it just a little bit differently. So, of course, it's Friday. So, one dentist down and the other dentist, is doing things. In fact, we need to pray for Dennis that he'll pass his exams. Have we been praying for him? We shall do that. And joining us today as a guest host, excuse me, let me just remove the frogs, is Dungo Gashane, political reporter and host of the Unfiltered podcast, is here with us in studio. Gashane, good morning.
Good morning, Ndu.
How are you?
Uko
salama?
Kabisa.
Say again that you're salama.
I'm very well. The last time we said that Ndungu is hosting the show alongside Ndu, we were with Aseto.
Yes.
So today it's Ndungu and Ndu.
It's Ndungu and Ndu.
So I think we can change some of the promo and say Ndungu and Ndu in the morning.
Oh, okay. Dungu and Ndu.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's another one. And you've seen her before.
Yeah.
She is in some circles where you're going to ask questions in the future. But she's hosting with us today to take a different spin on things. Jerry Kahiga is a national youth leader and she's hosting with us this morning. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Very well. Yourself?
I'm very good. I'm also very excited.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to host in a breakfast show with powerful people like you. And I'm very delighted. The whole of the Gen Z generation is tuned in because they told me, let us see what you can do with the millennials.
Okay.
And I told them, Gen Zs are not known to be early morning people.
That's what I was about to ask you. How did you do it?
But I told them, I am a touch of Gen Z, but when traditions need me to be a millennial, I become a millennial for some time.
Sawa basi. Okay. Well, it's good to have you both here, and it's going to allow us to interrogate some conversations. So, folks, do me that favor, and a warm welcome to Jerry and Dongo this morning as we get into things today and have conversations. If he is all fired up and ready to go, Sindo, Bas, are you wearing glasses? For real? Do you normally wear glasses, or it's me who doesn't know what's going on? So you want to say that I'm normally not okay? It's today. It's a today thing. All right. Evie is stirring up things there in the controls, and Christine letting you guys know what's going on. So thank you to everybody as we put this together every day. It's 6:15 into the final day of the week and getting into things on the Situation Room this morning. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing as we do. So now that at least we got the coffee in a little bit, some of those conversations that we'll have today, getting into it right now. Sawa. All right. So at 7 a.m., we will have a conversation around something that takes a lot of people by storm. It's a Healthy Friday conversation, as we normally do. We will have that health talk today. You may like it, you may not like it, but many people are waking up every morning hungover. What does that mean? You've been drinking and you have a hangover because the alcohol is still in your system. And what have people been doing? Taking painkillers to get off of it so that you can feel a little bit of yourself before you get into things. So we're going to be talking about hangovers and painkillers, a silent threat to your liver. Dr. Christopher Opio is a gastroenterologist and hepatologist. First of all, now that your tongue might be doing some kind of linguistic gymnastics, when he comes, we will tell us exactly what those two things are and what they do, and also why maybe the consistent taking of painkillers after a night of imbibing or a day of might not be the best idea. That's our Healthy Friday conversation. We'll do that at 7 o'clock. And then, from Nepal to Kenya, how freedom of assembly shapes democracy. The Professor Peter Kagwanja is the CEO of the Africa Policy Institute. Dr. Njoki Wamai is an assistant professor in politics at USIU, as she's also co-convener. They both join us at 8 o'clock. This is a conversation that took Nepal, the East, and the world by storm in terms of what happened just a few days ago, where the people said, nah, this is not the way we're going to go. We're going to have that conversation with the two professors at 8 o'clock. And then we're going to round things off at 9 o'clock today. The Standard Chartered Marathon has been in existence for, my goodness, for years and years. And we're having that conversation around 9 o'clock to, help people face barriers to when it comes to creating a sustainable livelihood. How do you actually do that? We're going to be joined today by our friends from Standard Chartered. We're going to be talking with Joyce Kibe, and also how this marathon is going to bring about certain things in tech. So we'll have that conversation then at 9 o'clock as we round out the week on the Situation Room. So karibuni sana as we get into things this morning. Always good to have you in the room as we do. Yes, I did say, please say a warm welcome to our two guest hosts today as we get into the conversation. Sawa. All right, guys, let's look at this point into our proverb for the day. We've been in Egypt this week, of course, some of the older civilizations, things that they did that, we use today, from mathematics to the use of paper to, their arts and things that we still use today started actually in this civilization. So, allow me to tell you what the proverb is, and I'd love to hear what it is that you guys think about this. The mouth of a man is in his sword. The mouth of a man is in his sword. We'll start with you, Jerry. Why not?
Okay. I'm trying to look at it from a layman's language and also from a scholar. And maybe from a layman's language, I would think of it like we are trying to say that whatever somebody talks about or whatever they intend to do is either a sword. So it's a two-way. A sword has two sides. It can cut from both sides. So depending on what you utter, it can cut through positively or negatively. Then if I was to look at it from a deeper perspective, maybe I would want to figure it around a conversation that we every day, we as Africans keep avoiding. Is it really, how much would we save ourselves maybe from financially, politically, economically, if we maintained the dignity of what we speak, if we sanitized what we the kind of conversation that we have every other day, how much would we save in terms of the extremes of some situations? Because there are situations that have happened in life that, were it not for the conversations that happened right before, or how they were said, or the people involved, how they took the discussions, So I would want to look at it from that perspective. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is a very wonderful proverb, and especially it seems like it is dedicated to our politicians.
Okay.
Because a sword can protect yourself, but most importantly, it can be used to actually burn the nation. So when you say that your mouth, the tongue is, and you also remember what we talk about, the acerbic tongue.
Yeah.
Some politicians with the acerbic tongue, they can actually say something and trigger even violence. I think it is even. It can be used to warn politicians and caution politicians on what they say.
Yeah.
Because it can actually be taken out of context by their followers and ban this nation.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. And we've seen it before. When I look at it and I think about the mouth of a man is in his sword, that the things that I do, I'm actually speaking. It is my actions that are speaking. Yeah. I don't necessarily have to open my mouth. The things I do will send a message to you. I can say anything, but it's the things that I do that will tell you what it is that I am saying. That's how I see it. And so if we take a lesson from that, maybe we ought to be very, we can talk all day, but it's in the action. And if we don't see things happening, then the words that you say are futile, I guess. All right. It'll be interesting to see how folks then are able to interpret that today as we get into it, because we'll be asking everybody as we get into the conversation this morning. Our live streams are up, folks, YouTube, Facebook, and on X this morning, getting into the conversations. And also our audience on KTN tuned in this morning, where you are around the country, around terrestrial radio and the region, and indeed the world. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. And now, how about we get into let's get into this conversation where we look at now we look at who's online, saying good morning to us, and wishing us a good show today. So sorry, just got off track just there a little bit. All right, so folks in the room this morning, I say good morning to you, those who have tuned in. Karibu sana. So you're asking who the guest hosts are. Gola, I can already see that question. It's Dongo Gashane, who is a political reporter here at the Standard Group, and as well as Jerry Kahiga. You've seen her before. And also getting into things this morning. Good morning from Mombasa, says Robert Mbogo. Happy Friday to everybody. Justice for the late lawyer. Indeed, that's one of the headlines today. Desmond Otis, we see you. Good morning. Boba War is tuned in. Patrick Mutinda says, good morning. Happy Friday. Good morning to you and Karibu. Good morning from Mombasa. Be careful who you trust and tell your problems to. Not everyone who smiles with you is your friend. Tell me about it. Patrick Mutinda says, good morning. Happy Friday. Agola, good morning. We see you dancing. Silas Akala says, Donjo Maber, weekend to Mefika. Hey, okay. Good morning, fellow citizens. Margaret Wajo, he is tuned in this morning. Good to have you. Let's continue the great conversations. Indeed, we must. Oscar Bernard says it's Friday and good morning. Yes, it is. Eric Ward tuned in. Good morning, guys. And good morning from Voi, says Rogers Nyange. Izakale, good morning, Spices. What a week of daily doses of politics, half comedy, half tragedy, and fully Kenyan. Lovely weekend, everybody. Izakale, we are looking for you. Okay, we'll talk in a minute. Pan-African Kenyan is tuned in this morning from Nairobi and says good morning. Wishing everybody on this platform a nice weekend, says Kennedy Ongwai. Hisa Daniel is tuned in this morning and says good morning. Tibbs Muga is here as well. Cosmas Marisi, tuned in, Spice. Keep up the good work. Asante Sana. Hesbon Sidon, yes, you're here, and both the D's are not here, but there's a Dungo and there's a Jerry. NNN are here this morning. Dungo, Ndu, Jerry. I didn't think about that just till now, but okay. Good morning, everybody. So, Hesbon, it's been a while since you've been here. What happened while you were away? We'll let you in to know some of those things in just a minute. Hello, Princess Ndu. Good morning. We see you, Leo. Independence is our budget-making process. And how much politically correct region benefits from the budget-making process? Well, we know that for Budget 2026, the process started, actually, in the last week of August. Just a couple of weeks ago, and we're actually right now, the intelligent, brilliant folks at the National Treasury have actually started to crunch the numbers and see what it's going to look like for 2026. So that's already going on. Frederick Okoa says good morning. This is Odis listening in from Awasi. Great to see Jerry over there. Miss Kia, Jerry over there. We see you over there.
Thank you.
Karibu Dungo and Gen Z and Jerry.
Thank you.
This is what it's going to be like this morning. Christina says good morning. Good morning, sister. Hope you're doing well. Duke is well and wishing everybody a splendid weekend ahead. Abdikadir Hawadle says good morning from Garissa. May God bless our nation on this blessed Friday. Amen. Nyakundi Emmanuel says good morning, my favorite team. Those whose leaders went to State House yesterday will see re-election on TV. Yeah, there was the T people were at State House yesterday. Bwangi Juma is tuned in this morning and says, how are you all this Friday? We are fine. Do not kill is a commandment. It actually is. Thou shalt not kill. I believe it's the fifth commandment. Dr. Van Vick is tuning from Tudor in Mombasa. Agutu Ogembo says, good morning, Team Spice. Eric Ohomo says, good morning, Ndukazi Kwako Leo. Tunasukuma, my friend. James Kamau says, good morning, tuning from Forney, Texas, and is asking, I'm concerned about the happenings in Nepal. Well, it's a conversation that we're going to have at 8 o'clock today. Isaac Babji, good morning. When Jerry speaks, I think it's Sabina Shege speaking. Why? Do you sound alike? Yeah, your voices are radio voices, actually.
Yeah.
There's something about that, both of you. So she's going to talk a lot more. You can tell us who it is. Jimmy Monothi is tuning in this morning. Mohammed Ibrahim is tuning from Freetown in Sierra Leone. Good morning, Mohammed. Abraham Kimeli is tuned in as well. Alpha is also here from Mbakasi. I'm seeing a lot of names that we don't normally see coming into the room this morning. So this is fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. Ian Kerry is tuned in this morning. Happy Members Day. Is it a Members Day? Is there such a thing? All right. Mwangi Mike, he says, it's Friday. I'm excited. Good morning. Karibisha, the guest host, kwa Makofi Tano. my daughter's school, is it 5 claps? Something like that. Okay, I don't know. I might just... Anyway. It's Friday and I'm excited we see you. General Isa Madenga is locked in from Ukunda, Indiani. The sisters, Kenya still exists despite everything. Indeed, it does. Kenya 1, nice to see you, Jerry, this Friday morning. Miss Kia?
Asante sana.
Dennis Kutuma is tuning from Palestine in Gaza. Okay. Oh, you are watching from Freetown. We see you, Mohammed. Adela Calvins, good morning, good people tuned in from Seoul. It's good. It's going to be a good Friday. Indeed, it is. As you guys keep trickling into the room, thank you so much for checking in. And let's start to have these conversations this morning, shall we? All right, we'll do it. At this point, we are going to take a look into the headlines today. And I'm going to start on Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. This is what the headline looks like. Tales After Death is on the front page of The Standard today. Folks are already asking, what happened to the lawyer? Well, it looks as though the DCI are starting to piece things together. Tragic by day. By day, Chalom Bobu cut the figure of a polished lawyer and devout church elder, a man who quoted scripture as confidently as case law. But beyond the courtroom and pulpit, he was mired in mounting debt from Shylocks who hounded him, for unpaid loans, to clients who dragged him to court over millions they claimed he had pocketed. Former colleagues spoke of a once promising advocate increasingly consumed by financial strain, his double life leaving a trail of lawsuits and whispers in legal circles. It's taking the turn that you didn't expect. Well, we're going to look into this story. Security players raise concerns over slow pace of solving murder cases, and police identify suspects in lawyers' killing. This is according to the CS. And we also see there Chief Government Pathologist Johansson Odur and Makueni Senator Dan Manzo doing a press briefing at the Lee Funeral Home in Nairobi yesterday when they were looking into this, and a number of lawyers there as well. And apparently suspects have been identified. We'll look into the details of this particular story because it's still grabbing headlines, and folks are getting to the place where they're afraid of actually getting out into in public. Just crazy. Another headline we're looking at: Scammers Paradise, EVE. This is the one we're talking about. How fake gold fraudsters mint billions from foreigners. Big deal here. 3 UN groups urge the UN, the AU and IGAD to end the bloody Sudan conflict. It's been going on for years, and now that we've seen hundreds of thousands of people displaced, killed, and more. All right, some other headlines. How Ruto's lofty UHC promise went up in the air in 3 years. Okay, so are we saying it's dead? Question, I guess. Uhuru Matiang'i dalliance may revive rivalry with Gachagua. That's what we're looking at. Faith Irungu expressed their position on Ruto protest victims panel. That's a story coming out. And let me just read the subhead there. 2 members appointed to President William Ruto's panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstrations and riots have distanced themselves from its activities, deepening questions over the panel's credibility even after the work. Even before it begins its work. So there's a surprise for you. All right. We'll look into more details. How about we take from you, Gashani? What does it look like on The Nation?
Yes. The headline by The Nation talks about how DCI spies on your phone. And then it talks about a report accusing Kenyan security agents of installing spyware on their phones of 2 detainees has revived concerns about privacy violations through illegal surveillance targeting government critics. The expose adds to a disturbing trend of police accessing personal data from telcos without court orders. The story is detailed in page 4 and page 5 and talks about, you remember the makers of the documentaries of the Brad Parliament? That's the story is domiciled, or it talks about those two filmmakers. And it says that the Yeroya had represented several individuals accused of publishing false information contrary to the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. The story goes on to say that the DCI seized their phones and the lawyer advised them not to use their phones because after the devices were released, the four gave them to a Citizen Lab, a Canadian internet watchdog based at the University of Toronto for forensic investigations. So this talks about misuse of Cybercrimes Act and violation, infringement of privacy. So other stories that are making headlines is why Raila postponed crucial ODM meeting, which is also in page 7. The story talks about fears of defections and why Raila Odinga decides to defer or postpone the roaming delegates meeting. The story says there is fears of acrimony subsequent defections, which is at the heart of ODM's party decision to postpone its highly anticipated National Delegates Convention. It's quite an issue. And then we also have another story talking about defections, arraignments as parties pick candidates for mini polls. Our guest Njeri Kaheo will assist us to talk about negotiated democracy and the right for members of public to pick their preferred candidates. And then on page 8 we have another story, wrong wait for Gen Zs facing terror charges. Remember, the protesters were charged with terrorism charges. And it seems efforts to ask the court to probably charge these people with issues to do with damages and all that. They have to wait for a little bit.
Okay.
That's the nation.
All right. Maybe Jerry, look into the star for us.
The headlines here is about EACC, how we have devolved, not devolution, we have devolved corruption. And EACC is talking about how 38 counties, we have 47 of them. So when we talk of 38 being in mega tender probes, we are talking about less than 9 that are currently safe. So we are talking of over 80% of counties that have devolved corruption. And when we talk of devolution, you are supposed to devolve services. But it seems in Kenya we have devolved corruption. And I can see in page 2, when in page 3, when the EACC is giving what is going on, they say that they have shortage of investigators, and maybe that will beg a very big question that we cannot have enough investigators to investigate 38 counties, but we will have 1 million of investigators to spy on Gen Zs every time that we have Mandamano. Okay. It begs a very big question. Then again, when we talk about this whole corruption scandal, we talk about how we see members of the public turn up in numbers when their leaders are arrested to go defend them politically. So again, it brings the questions, do Kenyans want accountability, or they want to prefer us to think of corruption as politically instigated? And where do we draw the line between political instigated cases and genuine cases that are seeking for accountability? Then we look at page 6, we see the LSK governors back senators bid for enhanced oversight. I think the issue with LSK, bearing in mind that today it's a purple day for them, I think the LSK has come out as one institution that is really hoping that they can give a balance to the public. But again, there's also a very concerning issue about the recent appointments of their president into the committee and the fact that the two of them have stepped aside. So now you see it's an issue of them trying to understand whether they are going to obey the court orders, defy them, or listen to the public. We go to page 8, we see the Treasury PS defending e-citizen payments as audit storm rages. If there's something that the auditor has kept on telling us, it's about the e-citizen. Why should we have systems that are costing Kenyans millions of money, but then again every month we have to spend hundreds of millions maintaining them?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I would ask like a Gen Z, hi to me token.
What?
Why are we spending 100 millions on e-citizen? Now to me token, I to me diesel, I to me petrol. So at the end of the day, it's a very concerning issue that is also going to bring us maybe to, if we were to understand, should we have systems that again take the wage bill higher each time on maintenance every month, or should we inspire or maybe seek technology that is well advanced enough to avoid such misuse of Kenyan funds?
Yeah.
Then page 10, there is a university student who was charged with a colleague's murder. And then also again in a different newspaper now, apart from the one that I have, Star, the Nairobian. We see a front page of Mama Ida raising a lot of cash. And of course, when I look at this photo without even reading what is in the context, maybe the paper was meant to show opulence, or maybe was trying to show us how Kenya has a lot of money. Because if we can be raising 5 million like this, then we need to ask our question, what are our priorities as a nation? Then again, we in the same front page, we have the cybercrime, 2 in court for attacking the Ruto-linked church. Then again, we have we still have the issue of crime. Crime has become an issue, and now we have also devolved crime again. Last week it was more of the Nairobi chapter, but again I see in Kakamega crime has gone a top-notch higher, and more millions, please, is what we find in page 4, narrating what is in page 1, where we see Mama Ida raising a lot of cash, and we see that the president again is not tired of giving from his salary, as he says every other time. So we can see he gave a very good donation
to this library now.
To this library that has been fundraising for some time.
Where is the library?
It is in which county? Homa Bay County.
It's an actual library with, when you walk in, there are books.
It is in a girls' school. It is a library research, innovation and resource center at Ogande Girls High School in Homa Bay. And it has been going for some time. From since they started the project, it started on, I think, 31st August 2020. The first Harambe was done in 2020, but it is in 2025 that we are still doing a Harambe for a library. And this time the president has also decided to chip in. And this comes maybe after the recent bromance between Raila Amolo Odinga and the president, because why didn't he contribute in 2020? But suddenly he's contributing right now.
And you know how much the president pledged last week? Hoping 55 million shillings
to this library?
To this particular library.
How big is this library? And how big is this school, first of all?
How big it is not our concern for now as Kenyans. Our concern is where the president got 55 million for a library, yet we don't have money for capitation. You know, we have to have priorities in order, honestly speaking. Because last term when we schools were closing, we were having so many complaints from headmasters and principals talking about capitation on that term was not even deposited. But the president has some savings. I think maybe we need to be giving a KRA, or maybe we need to be given a look into these personal accounts so that we can be able to know, is it that they saved when they were young and we as Gen Zs are not saving? Because for you to give somebody 55 million from your salary and you have been a president for only maybe 2.5 years, how much have you been making? How much have you been saving? Let's even give him a benefit of doubt from when he was a member of parliament. Can he accumulate that kind of money?
That's a good question.
And there is another very interesting article by the Star on page 7 that talks about, the government is now focusing on the e-procurement model. The story goes that state purchases agreed to halt as e-procurement directive sparks chaos. The government, through the Ministry of Treasury, headed by expert John Bandi, the ODM, the leaders who are occupying cabinet secretary's position from ODM are referred to as the experts. But this expert proposed a model of e-procurement, especially to counties and all the government agencies. But the Star is telling us today that A crisis has hit government agencies following the directive by the National Treasury stopping all forms of procurement unless done electronically. The government's engine, fueled by the constant flow of tenders, contracts and purchases, has ceased, leaving ministries, counties and even constituency development funds paralyzed. So the Star is telling us that both in the counties, the constituency offices and even the government departments, the new e-procurement rule has caused a complete shutdown. Workers can't do their jobs. They have stacks of important orders. And remember, the CS maintains that there is no backtracking to manual procurement. So
why are people not able to access because of e-procurement?
Shutdown. You see, according to the Council of Governors, they have said in the past that there was no piloting. So there are those hitches. It talks about people are not able to operate and they are not able to procure electronically because this is a new system, and they say that it has not been piloted to know what are the strengths and weaknesses. And these are some of the reasons that the site is telling us that near shutdown is what is affecting ministries and departments. And you see the president and even the CS was focusing on the county governments, but we are hearing and getting reports that even the departments within the ministries are now facing the technical hitches. Yes.
All right. It would be interesting to see what this e-procurement actually then, because we heard about it and before you know it was being rolled out. Yeah. And of course, constitutionally, public participation and then people rolling out something and giving a pilot. I guess that's what they're complaining about. But it's going to have its hitches, and let's hope that these are teething problems, as they normally say, but at some point the teeth will come out. Yeah. I keep saying, everybody says teething problems. But teething problems don't last forever. Yeah. Teething problems, when the tooth actually protrudes, you're good. You know, so let's look into another story now. Police identify suspects in lawyers killing. Everybody's eyes are on that right now. Persons of interest in the murder of city lawyer Chalom Bobu have already been identified, with interrogations ongoing, according to Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murgor. The CS, who began his 6-day Jukwala Usalama security tour in the Nyanza region yesterday while speaking in Migori County, hinted that detectives were pursuing leads in what he described as a terrible and painful killing. I quote, "This is a very sad thing that has happened in our country, akin to what happened to MP Ongondowere. The late Mbobu was my teacher, colleague and friend. Some persons of interest have already been identified, some interrogated, and others are going to be sought." Although the motive behind the killing remained unclear, Murgor assured Kenyans that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations was making progress. "I'm very interested to know what really happened in a position of responsibility and in constant consultation with the DCI." Okay, so he's not really told us anything there, unfortunately. I don't know if this means that they've identified suspects, because we're not seeing the names of anybody. We're not talking about much. According to government pathologist Johansen Odur, 2 bullets were recovered from the body and handed over to ballistics. Most of the gunshots came from the right side of the body. There was an injury in the spinal cord and to the neck vessels, which caused massive bleeding. With such injuries, unless you're close to a hospital, it's very difficult to survive. He explained that tattooing was visible on the skin, an indication that the shooter was very close to the victim. And obviously, because we could see that stain. So this headline is telling us that people have been suspects have been identified, but I don't see that they have been. I mean, because surely we're talking about perhaps somebody is making inroads to perhaps talking about somebody. Perhaps in this case serves, I mean, it will be interesting to see what happens, because what were we told? That the 2 gentlemen, the 2 persons on the motorbike, one of them got off, walked to the vehicle, shot, and did whatever he needed to do, went back to the motorbike, and they drove off. They didn't drive by and shoot. He dismounted, shot, and then got on again, and then they drove away. So somebody saw something. People maybe he was wearing a helmet, mask, whatever. But this was deliberate, and apparently that was their only thing. Page 3 of the Standard goes in to talk about the fact that, unfortunately, and I think what we've done here is that we've basically opened up his life, debt, lawsuits, and betrayal, the dark life of the slain lawyer. The Investigations by the Standard can confidently reveal that Mbobu had been blacklisted by banks and turned to Shylocks, microfinance firms, pay lenders, and credit companies. In many cases, the interest on these loans swelled to nearly 10 times the original amount. In one instance, Mbobu was sued by a church-based organization for failing to remit the full proceeds from a land sale. The civil case was determined on the 15th or 13th of March in the Milimani commercial courts, with judgment entered in against him. There are many. And just looking at what was owed here, Korat Africa withheld was 97 million. Penalties and claims came to 15.6 million. Court ordered 97 million plus 15% annual interest since April 2022. That's already throttling. Legal fees, court allowed 8.7 million. Shylock loan of 10 million shillings, repaid 24 million, and outstanding is 72 million. I'm sorry, I know that maybe I didn't study math, but there's a loan here of 10 million shillings, 24 was repaid. There's still an outstanding of 72.
But you know what Shylock means? That
this is since 2019.
Yes.
Okay, this is about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
There's another Shylock where he borrowed 17 million and it ballooned to 52 million shillings. There's another case where a settlement was received of 40 million shillings and this 40 million was withheld, still pending in court. Total known exposure is coming to 261 million shillings, and with a compounding interest comes to about 274.2 million plus 15% annual interest. This is what has been able to have been found that he owed. I know why this story is being written like this.
Yes.
But the question is then, is it supposed to point to anything or anybody that could be coming after him? That's what it does. Because when there's a murder like this, and then now we get these details, somebody immediately wants to put one and one together, or two. In this case, do they normally say 2 and 2? It's normally 2 and 2. Okay, they put 2 and 2 together to say this could be the reason. It's inference, and then you take from that. But could there be something more? But if we're saying that this, unfortunately, we've basically opened up his life here, and unfortunately, these are some of the demons that he was dealing with, from what we see in this story. Yikes. All right, we go to another one. Over to you, Gashani.
Yes, there is a story on page 8 on Uhuru Matiang'i Darians, which may revive rivalry with Gachagua. We all understand that former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua had a bumpy relationship, especially during the 2022 general elections. And the story says former President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to lead a Jubilee Party Special National Delegates Conference in a move likely to define the political landscape ahead of the 2027 polls. The meeting could also inform his relationship with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and the close ties between the two turned into a bruising political relationship during the 2022 general elections after Gachagua was moved to support President William Ruto, where Uhuru backed ODM leader Raila Odinga for presidency. The former president seeks to hand over the leadership of the party to former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, who has declared his presidential bid in 2027. So the story is about, by the way, I've written this story. I've realized I'm the one who has written this story.
You've just realized those are your stories. The words were sounding familiar.
So the story it talks about both Uhuru and Gachagua, and Uhuru's move to hand over the Jubilee Party leadership to Matiang'i. Some political activists maintain that this is a ploy to also try to hand over the region, that is the Mount Kenya region, to Matiang'i, and we do not think that Gachagua will make this. We'll just wait and see his region being quote-unquote auctioned to Matiang'i. And this is some of the reasons that the Darians that may be there between Gachagua and Uhuru, because we saw Gachagua crisscrossing the country saying that seeking apology, profound apology from Uhuru. You remember he was so harsh on him and his family, the Kenyattas. And he said that he will never ever allow political differences to reach to personal levels. And political activists now fear that Uhuru's move to hand over Jubilee to Matiang'i may actually revive this rivalry, because we saw Gachagua saying that he's not going to present a candidate using his Democracy for Citizens party in Ebere North. But Matiang'i was there yesterday, and he met able professionals, and they have actually presented a candidate. And they are not so they are not so easy on Gachagua, because they're saying the party does not require validation from Monyoro.
This is very interesting, this position in which we are in this morning. You know why?
Yes. Yeah.
The man who wrote the story is to my right. The woman who is in the party of the story that has been written is to my left. So, nothing like denying or...
Yes.
Jerry, what Dongo has... He's the one who said, because he's the one who wrote the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Matiang'i, Gachagua... Somebody doesn't stand a chance because now of the camaraderie now between Matiang'i and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah.
So Gachagua doesn't stand a chance. This is not me.
It is
the man
Gachagua.
who wrote the story is sitting across from you.
One thing first, even before I go into details of who owns what and what. It is, in politics, Kenyans have a tendency of looking at how you acquire whatever it is that you acquire. If people realize you are the kind of a person who is always handed over things, and there is somebody else out there who is known to go for things, you people will never be on the same political table. Because take a case study of the deputy president that we have right now. Every time we as Gen Z try to describe the issue of the deputy president who was impeached and the one who was appointed, we give a story of back in university when the lecturer told us that if you see a turtle is on top of the table, somebody placed it there because clearly it could not climb on its own. So when we talk about Uhuru handing over Matiang'i a party, then we have somebody else who has built his party from scratch, 1+1, but somebody else is coming to be given a party that has membership, because Jubilee, truth be told, has a lot of membership. Jubilee has been a ruling party. Jubilee has its influence across the country, yes. But then again, this is a party that in 2022, despite people loving the president so much and giving him 2 terms, people from the mountain rejected it very much. And apart from counties like Mandera County, where we happened to have few members of parliament for Jubilee and some elected MCAs, most of the places in Mount Kenya, they repelled against Jubilee. So you have been handed over a party that in 2022 could not get back half the numbers that they got in 2017. And then again, you want to give us like you want to give us the vibes like you feel you are better, you're in a better position than somebody who has crafted his party from scratch. Remember, the DCP party has been made from scratch by Rigathi Gachagua. He has not been handed over a party that was existing and he had members, so he's literally starting from zero. Yes, then somebody else is being handed a whole house that is furnished, fully furnished. Him is only to come in and decide which seats to occupy in this whole thing.
Where does this leave the supposed barring of hatchet between Uhuru and Gachagua?
You see, I would not want to speak on behalf of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, but I think sometimes the things that we see playing in public display give us a vibe of to like a sword, what you said in the morning, two-sided face politically, because on one end, last week we saw a photo of the principals meet somewhere in Nairobi, and the chairman of Jubilee was in those meetings. He has never lacked in any of those photos of the principals. But then again, there's a function of the SG, Kioni, and some people who say, we Jubilee, we are not in united opposition, we don't care, because the press that was done by DCP recently this week said that united opposition had decided if it's in the region of Wiper, they're going to let the by-election candidate for Wiper take the lead, and then the other parties in united opposition can support it. Then when you go to Mandera North, the united opposition has decided, because DP lost the seat when the CS was appointed, they're going to push the DP candidate because that is a stronghold of one of the principals, right? And in that meeting sat the Jubilee chairperson, the chairman, right? But then again, here's a function of another Jubilee saying that, we are in Embu. And you know what was very funny about the Embu story? It was blogged first by government bloggers from State House.
So are you saying that Matiang'i is a project?
I'm not really saying that. I'm simply saying the bloggers who posted it work in State House and are the people who have been talking about two-term. But yesterday, out of nowhere, out of the blues, they had interest to push the agenda of Matiang'i in Embu and trying to show that, Jubilee is still going to field a candidate and he's supported by Uhuru. And when you go to, when you're a director or a NEC member in any party, anything you say even in your social media can be taken like the official position of the party. So when we see some members of the NEC, like SG Kioni, Kireka and the rest talk about how they are not in united opposition, we as Kenyans are now wondering, should we follow the chairman who is ever in photos with the principals and in activities with the principals, or should we follow the function of Kioni? But then again, we ask ourselves, is Uhuru playing double chance? In betting there is double chance.
There's no cause for issues of mistrust within the so-called united opposition.
Not really united opposition, because you see, as a party, if you're not united, even before you come to us, you as a party, you have two functions. One is on this side, the other is on this side. And if you check clearly, when one function has an activity, like when the delegation for Kioni went for a roadshow in Nyandarua County, you would tell there were some specifics of people that we are not really being seen because maybe they are aligned to the other side of the chairman. So the moment we see two functions in a party, you cannot tell us we are not united in opposition and we have mistrust. It is mistrust within Jubilee, and they need to settle their own problems. And if I was Matiang'i, I would be very keen not to take in a house that the children are already fighting. Children are not even decided where they want to be, government or not government. And again, where the father is on this side bringing support this side, the other time you see him. And we as Kenyans keep saying, if Uhuru told us things as they were, black and white, maybe, just maybe, we would not have Kenyans will not have, hawangevotia the current president with the kind of numbers they did. But you see, our former president, by the virtue of he was a statesman and he never wanted to go into the mud of the political aspect. He maintained on, he used to speak in Proverbs. He never at any time did he ever go bare knuckle and say, this guy has done this and this and this. And I feel even right now, the cards that his party is playing is the same kind of a card. They are not saying we are in government or we are not. One moment we see him in State House being shown the roof has been changed. The interior is getting done. The painting is getting done. The other minute we see him in a function somewhere, I think it's a wedding, when he's telling the Gen Z, you have to rise up, you have to do this. And now it begs the question, when you were in State House, did you communicate to the president that the Gen Zs should, So now,
interesting.
What I want to tell to Gashane, the next story you write, please ask for us this question. Do we need leaders in future who give us the bare knuckle reality of what it is that is on the table? Then we can make our decisions. Or do we need to keep concealing the reality that is happening on the table, and we give Kenyans proverbs, and we give Kenyans stories that they have to really become journalists, they have to really become DCIs in politics for them to understand what message we are passing?
That's a good question. And I tell you, you didn't know that your story was coming out in the paper today.
I knew
Of course you knew, but you didn't know. Listen, Jerry had a few questions. I'm telling you, that is it, interrogating journalism. Here we are. So I want to give you this last story as we're going to the top of the hour. It's an important one. It's a sports story, but we know that the World Athletic Championships are happening in Tokyo starting tomorrow. This is of course, we know it's a biannual event, and Kenya is putting up a spirited effort. There's a lot of defending of records that will be had here. There's a photo there of Janeth Chepngetich celebrating with Agnes Chebet-Ngetich and Beatrice Chebet after they took the podium places in the 10,000 meter race for the trials that took place at the Ulinzi Sports Complex. If that's anything to go by, the girls and boys are going to go do a good job in Tokyo. We'll see what happens. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The Law Society of Kenya will today lead a purple ribbon march across all 8 LSK branches countrywide, following the killing of lawyer Kyalo Mbobu. In Nairobi, lawyers will march from the Milimani Law Courts before presenting a memorandum comprising their grievances to Police Inspector General Douglas Kanja. This comes a day after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions ordered Kanja to deliver a report on the killing within 7 days. The ODPP said the DCI was leading the probe into Tuesday's assassination, in which 2 assailants on a motorcycle trailed Mbobu's car along Magadi Road and opened fire through the driver's window. Meanwhile, Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odwal has confirmed that the slain lawyer sustained 8 gunshot wounds.
Upon having examined the body, we found that Wakili was shot a total of 8 times, and with most of the gunshot coming from the right side of the body. We were able to recover 2 bullets, which are being given to the investigating officer for ballistic purposes. So he bled, there's a lot of bleeding because there was an injury to the neck vessels. There's also injury to the spine. So these injuries were severe enough to cause death.
President William Ruto defended the electronic government procurement system on Thursday, days after the High Court suspended its directive requiring all public procurement entities to shift to the eGPS. Ruto claimed that those opposed to e-procurement have been benefiting from the inefficiencies in the current manual processes. He maintained that he will not scrap the digital tendering plan, emphasizing that it will enhance transparency and help tackle corruption.
We lose up to 40% of public money through procurement. And that is the reason why we have said we are going to go e-procurement so that everybody inajulikana. Hakuna haja ya giza. Kama wewe unatuuzia mali kama serikali, shida iko wapi kama wananchi wamejua umetuuzia kwa shilingi ngapi? Why does it have to be in the dark? For the avoidance of doubt, let me say we are not going back on e-procurement.
Kenya has affirmed its commitment to deepening international cooperation while addressing pressing challenges in peacekeeping, democracy and economic development. During the quarterly diplomatic briefing in Nairobi, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs CS Musalia Mudavadi noted that economic and commercial diplomacy remains central to Kenya's foreign policy. Mudavadi said the government will engage the International Monetary Fund on a new program to guide the economy.
The government of Kenya, through the National Treasury, will be engaging with the IMF so that we can work towards a new program. That is usually very critical in giving a very clear signal on the direction that the country intends to take on matters of the economy. Equally, we continue to engage with our development partners and other relevant bodies so that we can eliminate Kenya's sitting on the grey listing of the FATF.
Mudavadi went on to say that a ray of hope is visible in Haiti, with schools reopening, infrastructure resuming and communities regaining stability. But the Prime CS admitted that Kenya's leadership in the multinational security support mission in the Caribbean nation is increasingly facing resource and logistical constraints.
More recently, we lost an officer by the name Mutuku. They were involved in an accident in Haiti. Kenya remains fully committed to the mission's success and continues to appeal for adequate and predictable financial resources, equipment, and logistical support from the international community.
The former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has been sentenced to 27 years and 3 months in prison after being found guilty of plotting a military coup. A panel of 5 Supreme Court justices handed down the sentence just hours after they had convicted the former leader. They ruled he was guilty of leading a conspiracy aimed at keeping him in power after he lost the 2022 election to his left-wing rival, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. 4 of the justices found him guilty, while 1 voted to acquit him. Bolsonaro's lawyers have called the sentence absurdly excessive and said they would file the appropriate appeals. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice. When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one
has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a...
They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. It's 8 minutes after 7 o'clock and we're into the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. It is the Situation Room and we're getting into our Healthy Friday conversation. Ndu with you this morning and guest hosted by Ndungu Gashane and Jerry Kahiga. And as we go into the conversation this hour, I know, did you hear the news just a few minutes? We saw this big news yesterday that the former president of Brazil, one Mr. Bolsonaro, has been sentenced to 27 years in prison over what? Over corruption, over fraud, over all kinds of things. I'm just saying, and I've left it there for you to do that information as you please. Sour. All right. We're getting into a Healthy Friday conversation, even as we start to roll out into a number of other things happening. Dr. Christopher Opio is here with us. He's a gastroenterologist and a hepatologist. Hepa. He'll tell us what that is in just a minute. Dr. Good morning.
Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, our audience.
How are you doing?
Swell.
Swell. Oh, great. I love it. Good to have you in the room. And even as we welcome you to the room this morning, I want to share our proverb with you. The ancient, early, and even modern Egyptians live their life based on a heavy culture and a lot of science and a lot of what formed the basis for modern day technology. Even in the areas of makeup, these things that we put on our faces, a lot of that originated from the early Egyptians, whether it was art that they put on the wall or art that they put on their bodies in terms of culture. Just a little bit about where that proverb today is from. And the proverbians of this culture said this thing. And just to get to know, and we'd love to hear your interpretation of this proverb today as we get into it. And I tried to memorize it, but then I couldn't. But it goes along the lines of, just very quickly, sorry, it goes along the lines of a man and his sword and what then he's able to do or not to do. So here it goes. The mouth of a man is his sword. The mouth of a man is his sword. What do you think of that?
Experience, thought, How many of us have been killed by words?
Oh, yeah.
And how many of us have been strengthened by words? So communication is important. Words are critical. They can build and break.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. They can build and break. Drops mic. Okay. Our Healthy Friday conversation today is around painkillers being used for hangovers, and we're looking at the damage that it causes to the liver. Now, for it to be something that we speak about, it is an issue and obviously being experienced by a number of people without people knowing the damage that it causes. So first of all, let's just be sure that you, Daktari, gastroenterologist and hepatologist. Jerry said she doesn't know what a hepatologist is.
Liver doctor.
Okay, well. The mouth of a man is in his sword. Okay. Oh, so the hepatologist is one who looks into issues around the liver.
Yes.
All right. Let's go into some of these issues when we talk about, drink and when we talk about a hangover, it's like the little headache that you feel after a bout of drinking. Let's start with some definitions here. What exactly is a hangover? What exactly is going on in your body after you've had alcohol or that kind of substance? What happens in the body that gives folk the feeling of, I don't even know what that is, cotton in the head? I think I've heard it described as before.
Yeah, so hangover is meaning that you're hanging over the bed or hanging over the chair or something of the sort after a bout of consumption of alcohol, okay? And it's, would say, a mental and physical discomfort or symptoms. We call it symptoms because it's what you report. And the exact cause is not known, okay? But we have theories behind the possible cause. So, first of all, we need to know it is a syndrome. So syndrome is a cluster of symptoms and signs and so forth. That's number one. Number two, you have to consume alcohol, usually, okay?
You can't have a hangover from milk.
Yeah, that is not the true. That's not the one we're talking about. So, and usually it occurs as your blood levels of alcohol approach zero, and it can occur within 6 hours of that event, and it can occur over 24 hours. So just imagine you go out in the evening, have a drink, sizable, depending on your metabolism and so forth. Then 6 hours later, when your alcohol levels are dropping, all right, you begin to have this effect. Some of us may have experienced it. We know what it is. You may know what the symptoms are. The most common are either fatigue, headache, nausea, fogginess, etc. And it is associated with significant economic impact on communities. For example, in the US, hangovers, it's estimated cost about 180 million every year. In UK, if I remember right, with my dementia, it's about 2 billion. In Netherlands,
2 billion what? I'm sorry.
Pounds.
Wow. Okay.
So, I can't get the statistics from somewhere. Sure. Then in Netherlands, it is also about 2 billion euros.
This is the money that folks are spending, or that governments, society is spending on curing hangovers.
So it's not curing per se; it is the effects.
Or the effects of hangovers. All right. So what are some of those effects?
So basically, I've already talked about there are two categories. So there's absenteeism and presenteeism. Okay? So when you have a hangover, you're more likely to be absent from your job, etc., and so forth. Even those who present themselves at the job, they're dysfunctional. Okay? Their productivity drops probably by 70%, and really you don't get out. And then there's a risk. For example, you're more if you're a driver, you're more likely to have an accident. If you're handling certain equipment, dexterity, you're more likely to have an accident or make mistakes at that time. So that is the cost that they talk about.
Okay, that's interesting, and that because people are missing out on work, or even when they show up at work, they're not productive.
Yes.
How much do you have to have taken in to experience a hangover? Will you have a glass of wine at dinner or whatever and wake up in the morning with a hangover? How much do you have to have for a hangover to then be present?
So that is difficult. Of course, the more you have, the more likely you are to have it, but it's not one size fits all because different people metabolize alcohol differently. So some are rapid metabolizers and others are slow metabolizers. But irrespective of that, studies have shown that it's not the metabolism of the individual, but other factors which we haven't really pinned down. So, for example, I think somewhere they said one study did show that individuals with different metabolisms still had the same prevalence of the same, I'll say prevalence and use the word and break it up later, of hangover. So it's not very clear. The mechanisms behind hangover are still under study, okay? And it's not clear, we think, because alcohol is interesting substance, in quotes, recreational and so forth. You've seen the elephants and the amarula.
Oh yes, that's fun stuff. Yes.
Who say they don't have hangovers? If you went and watched even the monkeys, if you went and watched the whatever, you'll actually see some aspects of hangover there.
Yeah.
So back to the mechanisms of cause. So when you consume alcohol, most of it is absorbed probably in the stomach, and the rest elsewhere. It goes to the blood system, all right, and then it's processed by the liver. It's broken down, etc., and so forth, into bad products and good products. Okay. The issue with hangover is the duration that your pure alcohol stays in your system kind of determines whether you will have a hangover or not. All right? And in fact, those who are able to tolerate large amounts of alcohol are less like, so it's kind of a defense mechanism.
Okay.
Yes, it's a defense mechanism. The body is telling you, hey, don't go back to that.
Stop.
Yeah, you stop.
Yeah.
While those who are able to, who don't have hangovers, tolerate it better, so they are more likely to develop dependence on alcohol in the long term. So they end up having alcohol use disorders, where these are individuals where early in the morning they have to drink. Drink. When you tell them stop, they look the other side and say, yes, I'll stop, despite I've had an accident, or my liver is being destroyed, or I have pancreatitis or inflammation of my pancreas due to alcohol. They still go back to it. Their relatives tell them that, hey, you need to stop this, or reduce. They say, okay, yes, we'll stop, but the next, immediately you turn your head the other side, they're already in the bar or something of the sort. So those are two different kind of categories. So it's my theory, and I think theory of others, that if you have hangovers, you're less likely to have dependency.
And you talked about metabolism. Why is it that some people have hangovers which is worse than others?
Well, it's like saying, why do I have a bald head and you don't have Of course, genetics. So hangovers are more common in elderlies are more likely to have hangovers. If you've had your first binge, you're more likely to have hangovers. Ladies are more likely to have hangovers, according to data.
I don't understand why you're looking at me.
No, I'm just okay. Ladies are more likely. And so forth. So and then the elderly as you go. So it's not clear, but those are That is what we can say.
Okay, so in this time, so you're getting off. You're when you have a hangover, your body essentially is getting off of the effects of the alcohol that has been in your system. So by the time you're having a hangover, the substance has passed through the liver, like you say. Is it still, or is still on its way in?
It's in the body.
It's in the body,
and it's being cleared
for passage to the liver.
No. So what happens is that there are pathways. So you drink, you flood your bloodstream with
alcohol.
It goes through the vessels, partly goes through the liver. The options are that the liver may process it fast enough or slow, or over time, whichever. So what the studies have shown is that the amount of alcohol that persists before it is processed by the liver may be a proper determinant of your hangover. Okay. So and then there's the second stage whereby the liver processes the alcohol, and what happens? It produces unwanted products. Yes. And so that alcohol in the bloodstream can go to the brain, cause issues, can go to the kidneys and adrenals, cause dehydration. Have you noticed those who run to the toilet so many times when they drink beer? And
so what is it's taking out all the moisture?
It's kind of a diuretic. Yes, it helps you. Then for some people, why do people like adding sometimes ice and alcohol? Because sometimes they feel thirsty, and so it acts in the brain. So those are things that you. Then of course you have increased blood flow to the brain, so you may get a headache. At certain times, you may get hypertension. The worst scenario is if you get arrhythmias of the heart. For some people,
arrhythmia in English is
rhythm. So changes in the rhythm of the heart.
There you go.
If have you ever? Okay, I don't want to look at it. But,
oh no, don't mind me too much. Please carry on, Doc.
Let's give an example of arrhythmia. So if so happens that we'll just use it with your permission.
It's okay.
Yeah. So let's say he has a crush on her. So forth, and then for some time, then she walks in and she's very smart. Then he has a little bit of beats. That's almost like an arrhythmia. Because it might be good.
When your heart skips a beat, kind of like a
your heart skips a beat. And so forth. So those are the worst of side effects. Some people with nausea end up vomiting, etc. But the key issues are fatigue, headaches, nausea, and fogginess of the brain.
And what happens, Daktari, in the morning, because I have some friends who also partakers of this thing, who imbibe, they say the famous quote, kutoa lok.
He has some friends.
I know.
Every time in a conversation, somebody says, my friends.
I don't know who those are.
So in the morning, to contain hangovers, they say kutoa lok. You add, you get some alcohol to cure the problem of hangover. And the lok, kutoa lok. Do you know about kutoa lok?
Yes. But
how does it work, using alcohol to contain hangover?
Well, it doesn't work necessarily. I've just explained what goes on. So you basically, I'm not so sure whether they are not dependent on the alcohol and then using it as a reason to continue drinking or something of the sort. Because remember, this is it's kind of a protective mechanism.
Right.
Yes, so it kind of tells you need to stay away from that. It gives you the unpleasantness.
Okay.
Yes.
So looking at you would imagine that you get a hangover after, taking, even if they're not copious, but amounts of alcohol. You have a hangover in the morning or later in the day, whatever the case may be. You flood your system with water, you take a painkiller, drink some juice, whatever the case may be. They say toast some bread or something to mop up that feeling. And then in a couple of hours, you're feeling better, right? It goes away. But are there remnants that stay in your system over time because you could flush the system with water and then you're going to go out on a binge again on Friday night, whatever the case may be. Wake up Saturday morning, feel like hell, but then you sort out the issue, right? You sort out how you're feeling, the physiological things that you're feeling, the headache, the nausea, whatever the case may be, pop a couple of painkillers and you're feeling better. But is there residue in the system over time? Because remember, this is repetitive in nature. It's it's thing that you do all the time. What did you say that thing is that they do in the morning? Bas, that thing. So they do it. It's done over and over and over again. But what stays? What stays?
So
behind?
what stays is that okay. One, I already mentioned is the psychological and social implications of we already mentioned it. So you can have accidents, you can have that and so forth. But in the body per se, the body, so you push it to the edge, there are some abnormalities that go on. So what happens is that for these individuals, if you go binge drinking, you may end up with alcohol use disorder or alcohol abuse disorder, whichever you want to call it, and you can end up having your liver injured. The good thing with the liver, it's the only organ in the body that can regrow. Okay, it recovers a bit, but if you hit it too much, it won't recover. And it has 500 functions, so when it starts failing, you start getting a lot of problems. Other individuals will end up with, some of them become kind of dependent, and other individuals end up with, say, pancreatitis, which can be a killer. Inflammation of your pancreas starts a whole fire in your abdomen, and which may not revert. Yes, and so those are the other and of course there are nutritional deficiencies that may occur. So there's a lot. Maybe one would have to discuss later the effects of alcohol on the body. There are quite many.
Well, we're going to do some of that. We'll come back from a break and do that, but I know Jerry has a question before we do.
Yes.
Daktari, there's these, we as Gen Zs, sometimes we do back-to-back sherehe, and, in Nairobi we call it aluta. And now you see, I think there's this common, I don't know if it's a myth, or maybe you can tell us how factual it is, that some bodies have decided to agree with a certain type of alcohol. Like some people, when they take gin and when they take whiskey, their body reaction is very different. And it gets to a point where somebody will tell you, like, me, my body, if I drink gin, I'll be up till in the morning and I won't get hangover. So the type of drink, again, does it vary in terms of hangover levels, in terms of the color, wines and all that? And then again, after the different levels of hangovers, does how my diet was before alcohol explain the reason of my level of hangover? Because when people take alcohol when they're hungry, they tend to say the hangover was more serious. So how about that kind of a response or conversation?
So I think you've answered all your questions. Just put there yes. So dark alcoholic drinks are more likely to cause hangovers. Okay.
Dark colored drinks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By dark you mean whiskey, wine?
Yeah, anything which is dark. So you know better than me. So you just go and profile that, you go to whatever and say which are the dark ones and so forth. And it's because maybe they have other compounds in them. And as you say, the nutrition is important. Okay, remember that when you have a hangover, one of the problems with hangover is also low blood sugars. Okay, and remember, alcohol is also inflammatory agent. So you take it causes inflammation, and nutrition kind of reduces on that inflammation if you have certain micronutrients that are important, because they counteract that inflammation. And in addition, I would say that having good nutrition improves on your gut microbiome, which is the bacteria, the good bacteria, and that tends to counteract the effects of alcohol in the system. And finally, if I've not missed the point. There's a group of individuals. Our bodies also produce alcohol.
Okay, hang on. that could explain a lot of things. But sorry, how so?
So you remember how is alcohol made?
You ferment something.
Yes. So
ferment a product,
sugars are changed. You remember chemistry classes and so forth, etc. So your gut bacteria, if you have certain one, can also ferment the stuff. Depending on what it is, okay, you have sugars, certain sugars, and some of them, some individuals have ability to absorb that pretty fast. So the individuals, you check up on the internet of individuals who, despite not drinking, present as alcoholics or get drunk,
and they've not taken a thing of alcohol.
Yes.
Now I understand.
So we can have do here.
But those are rare. Those are rare. Those are
Okay, that'll be interesting to then look at. Now you can. Now it's giving us leeway to say, okay, now this is what might be up with this person. Okay, all right. So let's take a break at this point. We're talking this morning, and then we'll come and look at also some of the effects on the body, and maybe some things that we didn't actually relate to the long use of alcohol. But then we're also going to come in and look at painkillers, because now we're popping painkillers at an unbelievable rate. I'll give you some of those statistics, and maybe you can tell us, Doc, what actually happens in the body and the liver actually does. Dr. Christopher Otieno is a gastroenterologist and a hepatologist looking into stomach, digestive and liver issues. And we're having a conversation this morning on A Healthy Friday about hangovers and painkillers, a silent threat to your liver. It's 28 minutes to 8 o'clock. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have the charm, the confidence, and the charisma to steal hearts? The Hello Mr. Right auditions are here. Join us live at the Kenya National Theatre, Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th August from 8 a.m. We're looking for bold, authentic male and female personalities ready to shine on Kenya's biggest matchmaking show. If you're 18 and above, bring your A game, your smile, and your confidence. It could be your time to find love. And while you're at it, renew your StarTime subscription today and stand a chance to get upgraded to the next bouquet absolutely free. The all-new season of Hello Mr. Right is coming soon. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is...
Things are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, our conversations continue this morning with Dr. Christopher Otieno. Our Healthy Friday conversation is around the use of painkillers for hangovers and the silent threat to the liver. Is there a threat to the liver with a constant use of painkillers, Doctor?
Yes, there is. As I said, the liver handles most of the drugs. So the common painkillers that you have are what we call the Panadol, paracetamol. Then there's what we call the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, which include the aspirin, the diclofenac, the brufen, the meloxicam, and etc. So for paracetamol, usually liver damage can be acute, where you take so many tablets, usually depending on your age. The older you are, the more, and if you have any other health problems, you're more likely to have liver injury. The younger you are, the more you're able to tolerate the possible liver injury. So there are those who take more than, say, 10 tablets in a day. Those ones are for whatever reason, they lose their either pain
10 tablets a day of just painkiller, not any other medication?
Yes, I may have a headache and I'm just popping them for one reason. Or I may, because you're my mama and I've had an altercation with you and I want to get back at you, I take these tablets, pre-suicidal, something of the sort, reactionary behaviors. The problem with some of these medications, you can get them over the counter. For example, paracetamol is the main cause of acute liver failure in UK and in US. So it's available, you can pick it up anywhere. So that is how it goes. But then you need to be careful, even in normal doses, if taken for more than a week. For example, you will begin to see liver injury. So overuse of these medications, they can cause cumulative liver injury, okay, especially for paracetamol. I'm talking about paracetamol because I see there's a lot of use of paracetamol. Then you have the non-steroidals. So the non-steroidals can cause liver injury in two mechanisms. There's what we call idiosyncratics. That means we are idiotic and we do not know how it causes it, but basically when you're exposed to it, the products of the painkiller kind of mimic the surface of the liver cells, so the body reads the liver cells as foreign. Oh, wow. So when it reads it as foreign, you end up with liver injury, and it sets off kind of a fire or a cascade of fires and so forth, which you may end up in liver failure. So those are some of the mechanisms. So you may have acute, you may have progressive or chronic, or you may have idiosyncratic. And by the way, women are more likely to have drug-induced liver injuries than especially the idiosyncratic, than men. Women, we die of the hepatitis B, etc., and so forth.
Okay, so this is interesting. And just looking at some numbers here, that 80% of those who have been hospitalized are on one kind of painkiller or another, and after having been discharged from hospital, almost 100% of those who come out with diseases that need treatment for pain continue on those painkillers for at least 90 days. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
We're not even talking about the folks who are now popping the pill every time you have a hangover. So what exactly is happening in the liver? That is it residue? So if you take any kind of medication, there's the part of the medication that causes a reaction that is going to deal with the issue, whether it's the antibiotic, whether it's the painkiller, it's going to deal with the issue. Is there some, after it's done its work, of course, there's the waste or there's a byproduct from that. Are we saying that when it's done with that, whatever is left behind is what is essentially causing the damage?
You've said it.
Okay. If these people who are making this medication know that there is some harmful effect, why add that ingredient?
No, so the ingredient comes from the actual product that is meant to do good. Okay, mm-hmm. So there's always the good, bad, and the ugly side of a medication. So that even food itself can also cause, it has its bad side. So, and it also has its good side. So if you look at an approved drug, what do? They give you benefits
and side effects.
Side effects, so adverse. And if you read that leaflet, it will tell you XYZ. So that is the reason. That is why medications need to go through a process of approval to see how safe they are. and so forth. Of course, there's the other aspect of the herbal remedies, the nutraceuticals, which are not technically regulated, because you may go and see, I would not say a witch doctor or a traditional herbalist or something, but sometimes what they do, they get this paracetamol,
they crush it up,
crush it and put it in the...
What about the issue of the hangover patches? There are these things which are very common in Nairobi, hangover patches, that you just patch it when you feel like you're already getting drunk, and that is meant to
Those
manage.
things, you want the black and white of it?
Yes, let's go.
It doesn't work.
What do you mean?
So what do I mean? If it works on you, something else is working. But based on evidence and studies that have been done, really the few studies that have been done, so clinical trials are where we blind people and kind of remove the likelihood of chance occurring, okay? For studies that have been done, there's no clear evidence. And you can go and check it out, okay? So if they're making that, it's all about money.
It's all for money. Well, okay.
Daktari, allow me switch it up a bit on policy now that we from the conversation we can tell that so many, not only Kenyans, but so many people in the world are suffering from these hangover self-medication every other morning. Do you think Kenya can get to a situation whereby we regulate medication like it is in the US? I understand that in some countries out there, for you to access over-the-counter drugs, it has to be a real struggle, especially if you are not medicated. Like right now, away from the whole scenario, we find that some people are misusing so many different types of drugs. Maybe the diabetes drugs nowadays used for weight loss. People are misusing paracetamol every other morning. So do you think as a country we need to maybe work on our policies? And is it possible by the virtue of every time you find somebody who owns a chemist every weekend and they tell you their highest sales happen between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from the paracetamols, the normal medication that every other person needs every other weekend? Do you think we can regulate that?
Okay, that was 20 questions in one.
Mambo ya Gen Z.
So at the end, I don't know where to start. So if my response is confused and convoluted, it's okay. So number one, even in the West, you can pick up paracetamol and painkillers from the... It's not it's regulated, but it's over the counter. Okay? All right. So... yes, it would be nice to regulate everything, but if you don't have access to healthcare, just imagine what would happen. All right? And we have to agree, you don't have access to healthcare. And regulation comes with costs. So in my opinion, the issue is access to reasonable health care. And that health care would provide you with information, education, communication, then you can bring in the rest. So if the system has its limitations and is broken and there's a limitation in access, you can't. It's like alcohol. Have they tried to ban it in the past? They tried in US.
Yes, they did.
Failed. They tried in India, failed. Even in certain Arab states, they have put whatever, but don't people continue drinking? Yes, and it makes matters worse and so forth. So I think it's difficult to... there are already systems in place. They may not be up to par, okay, for various reasons, economic reasons, blah, 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 and so forth. But I don't have an answer for you, but I think you as Gen Z and the population have to sit down and think and come up with the solutions.
You talk about the liver being the only organ that can regenerate or, grow itself. Under what circumstances can it? And you said that it comes to a point where the liver has taken such a bad hit that it can't. What are those circumstances?
So if there is good nutrition and if the insult is removed, and if you had a healthy liver before, it can regenerate. So what happens is that, for example, if I removed half of your liver, so I'll give you a good example. For liver transplant patients, at least here in Kenya, we do not have organs, an organ system for donation. So we use living organ donor. So what happens is you have a relative who matches you, and then we evaluate you whether you're eligible to donate. So then we refer you to a facility that can do the liver transplant, because there's none so far here. And they split that part of your liver, give it to the individual that needs it, and that liver grows. And the person whose liver is split, at least 70% of them regrow, or 90% will regrow.
And does it grow to the size of a normal adult liver, for example? It grows to the size.
Yes.
How does it know that, okay, this is where we stop, folks? This is the size it's supposed to be. I mean, you just got a sliver.
I don't know. Yeah, but the issue is that when you look at the volume, it recurs back to its volume.
Okay. With all the proper function.
Yes, proper functions, no insults, no proper blood supply, proper nutrition, etc. And if you don't have an underlying problem, like you continue to drink, or you have hepatitis B, or you have any other insult ongoing.
Now, Daktari, how does someone know that his liver is already under strain from alcohol, even from painkiller use?
So that is difficult, because if you have a liver that recovers on and off, okay, sorts out itself, because you have two kidneys. There's a reason for two kidneys. Unfortunately, we have only one heart. Yes. So what will happen is that the best way of knowing that is you get screened. Okay, there are ways we can evaluate you. We can look at your liver enzymes, which may show injury. From injury, you may go to scarring of the liver. We can also look at scarring. Then there's what we call cirrhosis, when everything has gone wacko and you're in problems.
How would you look at me if I came into your clinic today, right? And let's say, but you don't know, if I give you my history, and let's say, every Friday I'm on the binge, waking up in the morning, coming at 3 a.m, and, I've had a drink to kind of like cope with things. And then I'm going to pop a couple of painkillers in the morning at about 5 o'clock before I come into studio. I've done this for 10 years. This is hypothetical, people who are now listening. And I've done this for, 6 or 7 years. And I start to feel a certain kind of way. What would you expect? Because now you're going to look at me as a hepatologist. What would you expect is going on in my liver that would then manifest physiologically for you to say, we need to check what's going on with the liver? How would I present?
So the mere fact that you've been binging and taking all of the drugs is the first inkling, in first sign or symptom or whatever that would push me. And unfortunately, being an expert, sometimes we pick up on other little things and so forth. But the issue is, the question is, why would somebody present themselves? They must be feeling sick.
A certain type of way. Yeah.
So it is fatigue. You may have yellowing of eyes.
Jaundice.
Yes, the jaundice, weight loss, fatigue, a big belly in gentlemen. You'll think they're pregnant or something of the sort. So hair loss, etc. But that is the end. It's the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine, by the time you present, 80% of your liver may have already gone.
Would you know? Okay, so
prevention is better than cure.
Indeed. So you're not advocating for these. I mean, alcohol already, you told us how it filters through and the effects that it then has on the body. But then now, a lot of folks adding this painkiller mechanism to it. What would you advocate for? Let's say, okay, so for folks who are on the drink, right? What would you advocate for? What should you take to get off that funny, fuzzy feeling? Because like you said, they've tried to ban the thing, it's not working. Even in societies where they've banned the thing completely, the black market is thriving. Somebody's told us, well, I live in the UAE, but I had a drink last night. So, I mean, obviously this is not, we're not looking at a place where it's going to end. Are there healthy healthier ways of dealing with this foggy status after having had a night on the binge?
So the best way is to avoid alcohol. Period. Finished. That sorts out most of your problem. The other issue is if you can't avoid it and you're still interested in your health, I would avoid self-medication.
Okay.
Yes. So just get an evaluation if it is possible. And if you're really stuck and you can't have access to a healthcare worker, then at most just a single dose of over-the-counter painkillers will do, because sometimes people don't have access. I have to be realistic and so for real world. So just and you know that sometimes if it is a hangover, you know it's going to disappear in 24 hours. So can you wait out that period? Okay. Painkillers, paracetamol is soft on the stomach, but the non-steroidals, the aspirins, are dangerous for the stomach.
Okay, there's a question here about Brufen and diclofenac. What does that do?
So
what does that do for your liver?
Those ones, so they can cause liver injury. Most notorious is diclofenac, which causes the so-called idiosyncratic. I've had patients who are presented with that and is in liver failure. And it's not one size fits all, but when you get it, it can be very nasty. They also work on the lining of the stomach. Okay, you can end up with erosions in your stomach and end up with ulcers. Some of them may bleed.
How many of these things do you need to take to get to this point? I'm wondering, and with what regularity?
So, if it is idiosyncratic, you just need.
Which means what? Sorry.
I'll repeat again and say we doctors do not know the exact cause.
Okay.
Yes, but the body reacts in a very bad way to the drug because the drug is processed by the liver, and the body reads the liver cells as foreign.
Yeah, but how many of them do you need to take for you to get to the point where the lining of your stomach is corroded?
So let's talk about the liver. Let's talk about the liver. So the liver, if it's idiosyncratic, you need one tablet, even per se.
Wow.
Okay, yes. It's like if I take Septrin and I've reacted to it, can it cause injury? Yes, it can. And it's the same mechanism. So for different individuals, if you're taking alcohol and you're taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents, you're more likely to damage the lining of your stomach and beginning part of your intestines. Okay, so because you remember the stomach produces acid, it's like this table. Okay, and there's something that protects the surface, this mucus and so forth. So if that is affected, then you can end up damaging you. And then it's worsened if you have certain diseases. For example, if you have H. pylori, which sits in the stomach, it augments.
We all have a little bit of H. pylori. We're all walking around Nairobi
so if you take alcohol or take NSAIDs, you're more likely to. So it's kind of a cascade of it, piling on top of each other.
Now, assuming that now I have lived to the mandate of avoiding alcohol, are there lifestyle habits and probably supplements that do genuinely support liver recovery?
So you mentioned supplements. I would say healthy diet. So so appropriate nutrition is the best way to go. Supplementation is if your dietary intake fails to meet the needs of your body as a healthy diet. So I would not push for that. I would just suggest go with what is realistic, which is a healthy diet, and usually it's more vegetables, more tropical fruits, reasonable carbohydrates and proteins depending on what your growth rate and what your demands are. So it's not one size fits all.
Okay. Is it a myth? Folks believe that regenerate your liver, get it back into working. Is that if you can flush your system with just water, and then you can drink a lot of water and you can get things back into play. Is this true?
I think we have enough experience and we between ourselves to know that we have drunk so much water. It may not have made a difference. Enough water. So too much of everything is bad and enough of everything is good, in my opinion. So it's good to be hydrated. It's bad to be dehydrated. But again, we're not going to tell you go and drink 4 liters of water. If it so happens that your kidneys cannot handle that water, you can end up with problems. And then for the elderly, for certain conditions, for example, some doctors, there's a standard where they limit the amount of fluids that individuals are taking because it kind of dilutes your certain salts in your body. And even low sodium in the body can be drastic. For example, if I'm a hypertensive, I'm taking drugs to remove some of the water, all right? And what would happen? The salts, or remove some of the salts, I'll say, not water, but salts. And I'm drinking a lot of water. What will happen? I can get brain confusion, brain edema, and so forth. And even for patients with fluid in the abdomen, sometimes we restrict the amount of water. So it's not one size, but the most important is to take enough.
Okay. So what would be that thing that we're telling folks to do? You said you're sure you can go in the morning and you can take, a couple of, painkillers to sort that out. But what would you, I'm basically asking you to make a prescription for folks with hangovers this morning, apart from taking the painkillers. Wait it out for 24 hours, or, you want to feel better in the moment. From what we are seeing, that folks are actually feeling horrible at that point, with all the things that are happening at the same time. Should you eat, not eat? Should you drink water? Should you have black coffee? Should you, eat a fruit, drink some orange juice? What should you do? So,
as I said, the people have tried these things, tested them with studies. The evidence is suboptimal. So really what I would do is you just need to recover. Wait it out, okay? If there's a really bad headache, at most, maybe one paracetamol or something of that. Try and, of course, the problem with alcohol, it also impairs your sleep. And it's about the issue of waiting it out. Yeah, you can't. That's the best and safest way. A couple of painkillers, maybe a basket of painkillers. So we try and avoid that as much as possible. But remember, within 24 hours, less than 24 hours, it should subside.
Okay. So what are we doing to the liver in the long term when you do have some kind of liver damage, or you do have some kind of, liver issues? What kind of treatments are you getting into to either recover or at least get back on track?
So the most important thing is that good nutrition and avoid the insult most of the time. So that works out. As long as the insult is removed, then and you have a reservoir to recover, then most of the time the liver will recover on its own. So
even when it has begun to fail?
So failure is relative, okay? So what happens, we start with injury, severe injury, then you have failure without recovery, then failure beyond failure. That's when the individual, the liver fails and you pass on. So it's a process. So we stratify you or characterize you into the different stages of the liver injury, and then see what drug. So if the liver has completely failed, the only solution is usually transplant.
Okay. That would be the solution. There's a lot of stuff to take in, and I guess a lot of lifestyle habits to change or actually start to practice. Thank you so much for being here on Healthy Friday with us this morning. Dr. Christopher Opio, a gastroenterologist and hepatologist, has been sharing this insightful information with us. Be careful what you do this weekend, and live it out over 24 hours. Don't pop those pills. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto is today expected to host 10,000 teachers at State House 2 days after Basic Education PS Julius Bitok chaired a consultative meeting with teachers' unions and head teachers' associations at Jago House, Nairobi. Senior officials from NAT, CUPET, the Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers, the Kenya Primary School Heads Association and the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association met Bitok to set the agenda for today's talks. They resolved that NAT would send 3,300 delegates, CUPET 2,000, KEPSHA 2,300, while the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association and the Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers will send 2,400 representatives, respectively. President Ruto is expected to engage the delegation on their welfare and working conditions, among other issues. President William Ruto touted his achievements on Thursday, saying he stabilized the economy as he hosted grassroots leaders from Kisii and Nyamira at State House, Nairobi. Ruto told the delegation that he's committed to working with all leaders to transform the nation and urged them to focus on development rather than politics. He noted that Kenya's forex reserves have grown and its inflation rate has dropped significantly.
Inflation has come down from 9.6 to 4.5. Our foreign exchange reserves, has grown from $5.7 billion. Now we are at $11.8 billion, the highest in the history of Kenya. We can now have a conversation about resuming roads. We now have a conversation about doing X, Y, and Z because first and foremost, the base, our economy, is stable.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who attended the meeting, emphasized that Kenya has great potential despite prevailing economic inequalities.
Kenya does not need to play in the third league. Vile amesema nyinyi 1960 kulikuwa na nchi tatu ambazo zilikuwa katika the same state of economic development: Ghana, Kenya na South Korea. What is it that the Koreans got right that the Kenyans got wrong? If you answer that question, then you're on the way to solve the Kenyan problem.
The High Court in Nairobi has declared the process of delineating boundaries in Mandera County illegal. Justice Bahati Mwamuye, delivering judgment on Thursday, ruled that the decision to establish new boundaries communicated in June last year was undertaken without adequate public participation. Justice Mwamuye declared the process unconstitutional in a petition filed by Mandera East MP Hussein Abdulrahman and his Lafay counterpart Mohammed Abdi. The MPs argue that the respondents, including Mandera Governor Adan Khalif and Lancier's Alice Wahome, initiated the process unilaterally without following due process. Border leaders, operators and security officials met in Nairobi on Thursday to address increasing criminal incidents involving some riders, including the torching of vehicles after accidents. Among the resolutions are mandatory SACCO membership for all operators and a proposal for county-specific uniforms to improve accountability. Nairobi Regional Police Commander George Seda called for greater professionalism and cooperation to ensure public safety.
Of that approach, civilization, in terms of how we transact business. Then inaenda mzuri. Police na bodaboda na mwananchi ni kitu moja. Wote ni watu wa Kenya, but kila mtu ako na kazi anafanya for one thing, safety of mali yote tuko. We want kila mtu afeel ile business nafanya. Sasa police ni business, ama sio business? Wana crime prevention sio business, ama namna gani hao? Message yetu. Kukuja nao jamaa sio business, ni business. Ni mimi am supposed to enforce law. Hiyo ni business ya nchi, nimepewa.
Several NATO members are sending troops, artillery and air defense systems to secure its eastern flank after what Poland called an unprecedented Russian drone incursion on its airspace. In the early hours of Wednesday, 3 Russian drones were shot down after crossing into Polish airspace. Other drones crashed to the ground and were later found across eastern Poland. Poland requested a UN Security Council session about the incident, which will take place today. In response to the drone incursion, the Netherlands and the Czech Republic said they would send defenses to Poland, while Lithuania would receive a German brigade, and greater warning of Russian attacks on Ukraine that could cross over. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit.
There is things are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
Morning, and we're coming in to 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room, and getting into the third hour of our conversations this morning. And we're going to get into now a number of them. And things happened in Nepal over the weekend, and the world stood and said, what? This can actually happen. We're going to get into that conversation this hour. And just remind you that Ndu with you this morning in the Situation Room, and our guest host, Jerry Kahiga, as well as Dungo Gashane. And the conversations that we're having this hour really is looking at what democracy is shouting out about today, and whether there are lessons from Nepal to the world. How freedom of assembly shapes democracy, and also looking from Nepal to Kenya. Joining us in the Situation Room this morning, our guests, Professor Peter Kagwanja is the CEO of Africa Policy Institute. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Du.
How are you doing?
I'm well. And yourself?
I'm well, thank you.
Very good.
Karibu sana, good to have you. Dr. Joki Wamai is also here this morning, an assistant professor in politics at USIU Africa and co-convener as well. She joins us this morning. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Du.
How are you doing?
How am I? Upbeat.
You're upbeat?
Yes.
This is great. Upbeat is good. We'll take upbeat, as opposed to the other things that can happen. So we want to thank you, both of you, for being here this morning. We're going to share today's proverb. And we'd love to get your interpretation of it. Today's proverb comes from Egypt, one of the world's oldest civilizations. And then also, and like I said earlier, that we see modern manifestation, but that comes from the foundations of what was set in place from a long time. The use of paper, the use of math, the use of makeup that we see today, the use of certain preservation skills across board. I mean, you can go on and on and on. And that's the world in which we delved into with the proverbs today. Today's proverb goes like this: the mouth of a man is in his sword. The mouth of a man is in his sword. Professor Woman?
The mouth of a man is in his sword.
Yes.
I don't want to say I'm not a man, but anyway. I think, thinking about the metaphor of the sword is what we use to, fight, kill. So maybe the mouth of a man is in his sword is also that sword speaks. It speaks what this person, what he does with this sword is probably what it speaks what he wants to do. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think for a man, words should speak louder than your words. So men in those days were known for war. You know how you show up in war. How you perform is what gives you the reputation, not how much you talk. I think it's a statement that let's see your action, not your words.
Let's see your action, not your words. Indeed, one to look out to. Well, speaking of action, the folks in Nepal over this week said, okay, we're not listening to you anymore. We are basically saying that the things that you have done is what we're going to go by. And let's take some chronology here with what happened in Nepal, taking the world by storm, essentially, is that there was a social media ban. And the social media ban essentially came from the office of the Prime Minister. And when he then said that, there's certain things happening and we are insisting that social media organizations either have representation here in the country, they must be domiciled as domestic businesses in order for us to then be able to regulate them and also regulate them in terms of what can go onto those platforms. And so there was a ban. And the people stood up and they said, absolutely not. You cannot do this. The underline was that they were looking for a way to stop the expression of the people on social media in a way that they were not going to be able to control. Now, as all of this came out, we then heard that there were also other subliminal messaging about corruption that was happening from the government, and they said, we are not going to allow this anymore. As these frictions started, we also then saw the resignation of the Prime Minister, where he said, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. But it didn't end there. And the people said, no, we are going to take matters into our own hands. The former Prime Minister was run out of town, literally. Was carried in the streets, was disrobed, and was found in a body of water somewhere adjacent to the city.
The Nairobi River.
The Nairobi River for Nepal. And media houses were burnt down. Parliament was burnt down. Everything came to a standstill, and we saw the resignation of a Prime Minister. And when the people of Nepal said, absolutely not. Before we even get into what the political intrigues could be and how you want to land this message, what would be your outlook on this particular situation in terms of where the people now were practicing their sovereignty, essentially? Prof, now this is great because now we have two professors in the house. So when we say prof,
prof,
prof the lady.
Thank you. No, I mean what has happened in Nepal is very, of course, it just shows the limits of what I would say moral decay in terms of democratic decay, if we are to call it that, and corruption. Because I think even if you check on social media, the people in Nepal are insisting the social media was just a trigger. You know, the ban of social media and the ban of this social media was just a trigger. We have so many serious issues, underlying issues, and one of them, of course, being corruption, elite impunity, which I think we will start also looking at the similarities between Kenya and Nepal. Elite impunity, and you saw are they called the Nepo kids? These young, the children of the elites. Living very lavish lives, and I'm so glad people put those videos together comparing these children of the elite versus the ordinary Nepalese children. And it's not like youth and how they are suffering. And of course that through social media really triggered what we saw. And we will see very many similarities also with Kenya. So going back to that question of sovereignty, I think one of the things elites don't understand, sovereignty belongs to the people, especially in a democracy. And if you even know the meaning of democracy, if you go back to Greece, where they started these ideas of Western democracy, demos means mob, and cracy means, rule, democracy, mob rule, that's what it means. And mob rule was based on the people's rule. And so the people took back their sovereignty. And that's one thing I think many elites don't understand. Once they get in those tools of governance, they assume that now we have the sovereignty, or now that we have the authority, we have this question of legitimacy. And that's a contract, that we have to keep negotiating. So once the state or the people who are running the government do the right thing, then that relationship is maintained, and that sovereignty. But the minute, I think, like what happened in Nepal, they do the wrong thing and really subverting the will of the people, then, and remember in the democracy, in a constitutional democracy, as Nepal, Kenya, the will of the people, the power belongs to the people, and the people can take it back, and that take back their sovereignty. So,
Professor Kagwanja?
I think if you look at many constitutions in the world today, the ones that have claims to democratic space, they all start with the people, whether it's the American Constitution, the Kenyan Constitution, and so on. By so doing, they are recognizing the sovereignty of the people. But it is very important how that sovereignty is exercised, because you can exercise it in a manner that it benefits the people themselves through what you can call delegation. So it is a principle of delegation that is the key of how the will of the people and the sovereignty of the people is done. The moment the people themselves take to the streets and begin to exercise their sovereignty directly without any regulation, two things happen. One, you can say we are in a revolutionary setting or situation where people are now reshaping the order of things, or we are in total chaos and anarchy. And that is where now we begin to ask, how does it end? So the American Revolution ended up in a group in Pennsylvania sitting down and crafting a constitution that is going to govern them thereafter. In France, it ended up in chaos, total chaos, until they had to bring in a military man, Napoleon, to restore order, who was more dictatorial than the monarch they had overthrown, and who did not only beat them up, but actually beat the neighbors. The Napoleonic Wars, if you remember. So the sovereignty of the people is a double-edged sword that can cut both ways.
And Prof, you said something very important, because listening to Madam Professor here is talking about sovereignty and people trying to take and explaining the word democracy. But where is the boundary between sovereignty and the use of extra constitutional means to hold these leaders accountable? Because in as much as the Nepal citizens, especially the Gen Zs, have actually, it's like they have held a coup because there is no government, and the military is now asking the Gen Zs to come and help form an interim government.
They didn't force him out though. He resigned.
He resigned.
But he resigned because of banning of Parliament, the Supreme Court, their homes. But where do we draw the line between sovereignty and use of extra constitutional means to hold these leaders accountable?
First and foremost, you get to that kind of a situation when there is total frustration, total lack of confidence at any level with the government of the day, largely because of what we call state capture. You have total state capture of institutions to the point that people have no hope that their will be exercised legitimately within the established order. For example, today people are talking about parliaments. Are a parliament serving the will of the people, or the power that be? You can talk about the executive itself. So when the three institutions of government lose total legitimacy, in the eyes of the people, then this is where people begin now propelled to get out. But something else happens, that those exercising power begin to move towards authoritarianism. And therefore, people decide to confront them using the same means. You are beating us, you're beating us through violence. We will get to you through violence as well. And that's why these protests and these people-led revolutions have become extremely dangerous for both democracy and the state itself. And if leaders were to listen, never lure people into people-led revolutions, because it is leadership that pushes people to the edge. It is not the people who come to the edge. People want to be stable. People want to wake up in the morning and milk their cows. People want to go on with doing what they do. As long as it's profitable and their life is guaranteed and assured, their hopes and ambitions are met over time. But the moment they lose that hope, the moment they feel that the leadership is not getting them anywhere, then this is when you begin to see people-led revolutions.
And then the question of I like what Prof is saying, but also listening to them. If you look at all the what we can call here people-led revolutions against authoritarianism and not against impunity and everything in the last, is it 5 years? All of them are in authoritarian regimes or democracies. Let's call them, I don't know whether we can call them fake democracies or democracies that are not really, are not what we call a liberal democracy. They may be just a what I would call a mongrel democracy, like the one we have in Kenya. More of an electoral democracy. We meet for, exactly. We meet for elections every 5 years. But if we look at the constitution, we are not adhering to the Bill of Rights, that chapter where we are dealing with freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. So if you look at all those countries, whether it's Kenya, the protest we had, Nepal now, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, where else? All those countries, and also you can see they're all in the global south. So it tells you something that is going on here. First, we have a very large group of young people who are technologically very savvy, so they can see their counterparts across the world and they know what they deserve, and then they're into technology. They're emotionally also invested in their countries. It's very beautiful for me seeing people protesting with the flag, the Kenyan flag, for instance, or even in Nepal. We are appropriating instruments that were state, that defined the state and its idea of sovereignty at the top. And people are appropriating them and using them for themselves and saying, this is my country, the flag. So that's what I'm saying. A lot has changed, but the leaders or the rulers who are ruling with impunity don't understand that the ground has shifted. We no longer have the population of 1975. Or the Kanu Baba Nabama who could be told this is the way and you agree. No, we are not longer there. We have a very different populace that is very even democratic and full of liberal values in themselves, and then they're confronted in this state that doesn't actually believe in the same thing. So there's going to be a lot of tension, and I believe even what happened in Nepal is a sign of things to come across Africa, across Asia.
Do you think all these consistencies from one nation to another, maybe how would you describe our international laws, it being that for the citizens in Nepal to have felt that their authorities, because they have judicial systems, they have police stations and all that, but they felt the people in those institutions were not holding the government to accountability. And it has also happened in Kenya, whereby we as Gen Zs feel like we can't go to a police station and report the CS, you can't report the president. And even if you went to court today, it would be a whole different story. We've seen the president, we've seen young people paraded in courts, and they are being accused of putting the president's image in a coffin, and the president can't come to as a witness, despite him being maybe the person complaining or the state complaining that this thing is against the president. Do you think the Gen Zs across the globe are trying to, or do you think within the next 2, 3, 4 years, because everybody is demonstrating in their own countries, now it is going to beg the questions, are our international laws or institutions that are put into place to deal with such international concerns? Because we can't, when every country is bringing in the same kind of energy and it is pointing out at one thing, the leaders at the top, then we maybe need to fix our international rules in a way that we don't need it to happen in all countries for the international laws to act on these problems. Because the Gen Z Maandamano was literally some few months ago. Last year, 2024, it again happened. And even 2024, Kenyans were looking at some countries that by then had done it already. Now, this year, Kenyans are saying, na Napalo wamefanya kutuliko. Next year, we need to pull up our socks. So how do we bring, now like a competition, do we need to now, as the community, the global community, focus on ensuring that this thing does not repeat itself? Because in as much as I'm a Gen Z, I feel like if we don't get a solution, and a solution that is going to apply maybe globally despite our problems being very divergent, but I believe there are solutions that maybe if we stepped up a bit on our international laws, maybe we would find a solution. So that if I'm in Kenya and I feel the president is not working, I am confident I can run to somewhere and they listen to me very quickly and act on it.
Sadly, I'm not sure we have. Okay, first, the principle of sovereignty that many states love is what encourages this idea of nobody should interfere with our matters externally. But, of course, and you know what happened during why that was set up, and then, of course, the Cold War happened. But after the end of the Cold War, because of the numerous conflicts, especially in Africa and many other places in, of course, Eastern Europe, the idea of R2P came about at the UN level. R2P means responsibility to protect. That we should not just sit and say the borders are sovereign. You know, like African Union, when they formed it, that's the first thing they said. We are not interfering with anybody. We are not changing the borders. Nobody should interfere with any country. But after the end of the Cold War, of course, because of the numerous conflicts and the fact that so many citizens in different countries were now left to a dictator or just some, you know. So there is a principle of non-interference at the UN level. But of course, your guess is as good as mine, and Prof can explain better. Then many countries still don't, even the UN doesn't, that intervention doesn't normally happen. Because, of course, so many challenges. We've not seen intervention, but different countries sometimes have intervened. Like just our neighbors here. Tanzania, is it 1979 or which year was that? They intervened in Uganda yes, they did. When Idi Amin was massacring his population. So Mwalimu Julius Nyerere actually decided, I'm taking matters to my own, and intervened. His friend Kenyatta refused next door in Kenya. So it can happen, but of course, given we would need, so much needs to go into R2P, so much is not done. Remember also why the current president and the former had to be taken to The Hague. Again, is that principle of intervention, right? Responsibility to protect. Because we cannot watch one dictator or an authoritarian leader, or even just a person who doesn't understand democracy, lead his people to that path. Yeah.
I think, Madam Kahiga, the issue here is a tension between that principle of sovereignty on the one hand and the globalized world, particularly owing to technology. When I get to my phone here, whether I go to WeChat or go to WhatsApp, I choose whether I want to communicate to you here within Kenya or to communicate with my colleague in Beijing or my colleague in Brussels. And in that communication, distance melts. It doesn't matter anymore. And therefore, what is happening in Nepal, for example, is very, very much here. It is not there in those Himalayan mountains. It is here because you are seeing it and experiencing it within your own milieu, your own environment. And therefore, there is that collapsing of mental boundaries. They're gone. So, Bangladesh and us last year were competing. Who is doing better in challenging the state? And the Bangladesh did better, just below Nepal. And they got lead of their leadership, and now they're there. Then Nepal's are there. Next, we have Indonesia. In France, the Gen Zs are there. So it's like wildfire. But it is one thing that is underpinning all this, the problem of the youth bulge. And the countries that have the highest expansion of their boom of their youth cohort are the ones that are facing it. Kenya, we saw it coming. We just deferred. We've continued to defer, and therefore the Gen Z problem is here with us. The big question is, what we needed to have done is to educate or give our skills to these Gen Zs and train them and begin to position them as builders of the nation and leaders of the nation. A long process, but now, before they are trained, before they are equipped, they want to take power. That's a problem.
And one of the issues that the government in Nepal was trying to control by claiming that they wanted to ban social media was to control fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. In Kenya, such efforts had been made in the past, but they flopped. Do you guys agree that there's a problem of fake news, information, and disinformation, and how can we control it without necessarily bringing the issue of censorship? Because in Nepal, that particular issue was interpreted to be a censorship issue. But is it there? Is it a problem with us, and how can we control it without provoking the Gen Zs and other stakeholders?
We have to invest in technology. There is no way you are going to have a blanket ban on social media. Even you yourself, the one who is banning, after you ban, you need it because cabinet, meetings, communications are carried through WhatsApp. You have been sacked, or you are going down in government when you are removed from certain WhatsApp. So they become integral part of our lives. We are conducting fundraising for funerals, for weddings, for everything through WhatsApp groups. We are communicating as families, trying to understand. One brother is in New York, the other one is in Sydney, the other one is in Beijing. How do you keep the family together under the current circumstances? So technology is everything to us. So the moment you pretend that you want to control it without having a superior technology, like for example, you'll never hear of any bans of these things in China. No, you won't. But if you watch the parade during these celebrations of the V-Day in Beijing, try to be within let's say 1 kilometer of where that parade is taking and trying to check anything other than what is allowed by the government. It can't. Why? Because they have invested in technology to control their space. And therefore they can let people have their freedom to do wherever, but you can limit within which space you cannot go. Which platforms you can access and which you can't. So it is that problem where you use the crude methods of banning technology without giving an alternative, and two, becoming phobic of a world that is real. Yeah, there is nothing that prevents me from addressing President Ruto here because of technology. You can tell him anything now what I want. So it's about me. Okay. And you can't control that. Under Kano, which most of us lived, as students, you couldn't. In fact, by the time you finish, somebody is out there waiting for you.
Of course, or in here for that matter.
In here,
You mentioned something, in that you said that to feel the full effect of some of these protests, especially then giving to the Gen Z, that without experience and proper leadership, that this all essentially is futile. And I wanted you to open that up a little bit. We can hear also from Professor Wamai. But if we look at the uprisings that took place, these were youth-led. Especially Arab Spring. If we look into the Arab Spring, if we look at what happened in Sudan, it was a young woman who started this. If we look at what happens in Egypt, it was a young man who started this, and the youth in Tahrir Square came out and said, we want alternate leadership. Unfortunately, the alternate leadership that came in under Al-Sisi is what they did not want at the end of the day. If we look at what happened in other parts where the spring came up, it was the young people. If we look on the other side into Chile, where there was protests against the cost of transportation, that essentially is what broke the banks on that revolution. The majority of the people who were leading this charge are the ones who were going to work and earning minimum wage at an age between 19 and 40. Young people, again. Is it that they want to be the ones in leadership, or that they're agitating for a different kind of leadership to come in place? Because you mentioned that there is need for experience and leadership. Is it that these protests are towards better leadership, or that the protests are towards those who are protesting to be in positions of leadership? It hasn't worked. It didn't work in Egypt, didn't work in South Sudan. For all intents and purposes, didn't work in Chile.
I think what is happening in terms of people-led revolutions being young, in terms of their age factor, is very natural. When we're hiring for KDF, we hire between 18 and 25. I've never had a 70-year-old being hired in KDF, because that's not natural. Two,
your youth leader in this country is always said, but
so in other words, young people between the age of 18, actually to be clear, 14 years. In normal other societies, all the way up to 25, 30. This is the warrior class. They are the ones, the Maasai call Morans. Ours, we call them Utungatis and all that. Now, because they are the ones who are giving service, Utungata is giving service. They are the group that gives service. But why I brought this point is because I'm deeply worried.
How?
I'm deeply worried about our leadership perception, and I'm in that leadership myself. And we are beginning to see salvation in the children that we should be serving. We should be saving. You hear, come 2027, the Gen Z are going to do this and that. Your children can't do anything for you. You've got to do something for them. That's why we have this cohort, the cohort that by the time we look at the population today, only 3% of Kenyans are above 65 years and above. If you just 3%. When you get down to Rutos and ourselves, that is when we get to about 10%. The rest of the people are below 50. And then when you come down to those who are below 35, they're now 65%. Meaning, these are the way the structure of the pyramid is set, is that we look at the wealth. The 3% have the total wealth and resources, because if they're there and they made it. The 10% have the rest of the wealth. So if you look at the population cohorts vis-a-vis the wealth control, if that's the study you are doing, then you will conclude that the minority have the wealth. But we are also supposed to invest in the youth, so they grow. Now, the inverse is that we are now looking towards the youth to save us from the things that are undermining people-led societies. But the truth of the matter is that is basically what Omar is calling decay. We are decaying as a democracy. What we should be doing, and the youth themselves are frustrated, and legitimately so, because there are things they expected. You want to leave school or college or a technical institute and be able to make living without being dependent on your parents. You are seeking for freedom. But that does not mean that we have no responsibility as a country and as a people to educate and equip our youth for future leadership. The moment they come to power without that, then we start getting into problems. Because you will have the same problem we have had over the last 20 years. 15 years or so of the so-called Jubilee. The Jubilee leadership, and I'm speaking this boldly because I work with them. I've worked with them. They thought that putting all positions at the young people is basically democratizing society. They have run us down. That's why the Gen Zs are in the street, because they did nothing about equipping this Gen Z for the future. They simply put them in positions of authority, yet they cannot go up. Because you finish your undergraduate, you've not done your master's, maybe you have not even done refresher courses. In America, you go to Harvard from time to time to keep on refreshing yourselves. In South Africa, you cannot be a doctor unless every year you are going for a refresher course. Every year you have to go twice for refresher. Now, in our society today, we are now beginning to heap responsibilities on the Gen Z to liberate us, when we are the ones who are supposed to liberate our families, our youth, our babies, and equip them to serve this nation. So there is that discrepancy I'm talking about. Yes, let us tell them to take the votes, register as voters, and go and vote in 2027. That's a good message. But when you begin to hear some leaders saying that we want all the youth leadership to be young, then you have lost it completely.
I think we need all. We need, because look, our society is, as you've seen, different people, different ages, and there's that risk, of course, of having only one age group in power. We need everybody. The same way for us who are also women, we keep saying we need, more than 2/3 of women, 50-50 in parliament. So we should look at our population and allocate, whether it's positions of power, parliament, proportionately to the number of people and their ages. Because I think there is so much, wisdom that we also get from older people, fresh ideas from younger people. I don't know what us middle-aged people bring in, but everybody brings in so much.
Professor, when you look at these issues of the youth uprising, the Gen Z protest from Kenya to Nepal, Bangladesh, to other countries, they are agitating for common things. Issues of political corruption, elitism, nepotism, all those issues. And I remember when I was in school, when one school started striking, all other schools joined. And some even joined because of some very flimsy reasons, such as hiyo githeri iko na mafuta taa. So the question is it really a world problem, or is it because of peer pressure, or because the Gen Zs from another country want to go on strike or to protest because other countries are striking? We have to also ask ourselves these hard questions.
No, I think we should also ask ourselves, in countries where democracy is working, are they protesting? I mean, of course, we can say France, democracy works.
They're protesting on different things, but not for government to get out of place.
Right? Yeah. So, again, it goes back to that social contract. Is the government listening to the people with the power? Remember, democratis, mob rule, the people who have the power. So, somebody and elites, especially authoritarians, will easily use that card and say, it's just peer pressure, like those high school strikes. But there's nobody, I think, who gets on the street, just like what Prof was saying here. People want to be milking their cows. Gen Z want to be doing their IT stuff, technology. Nobody wants to be on the street every day for fun, unless there's something that has really driven them. And the channels that exist, that constitution that we created in 2010, that we are celebrating 15 years, it has very clear channels on so many things, but it's not implemented. Chapter 6 is not implemented. The question of integrity, corruption, the police brutality in Kenya, for instance, that issue, and look at this committee that has been formed. Instead of addressing the justice issues, you go around and circumvent and you say, let us first address compensation. There's nowhere where compensation is given first without addressing justice, though the two should always go together. So the problem is we do not implement our contract, which we've already written as the constitution, between the led and the followers. And once that happens, of course, people will use all sorts of extrajudicial ways, extra constitutional means of getting to be listened to. But remember, we have very clear ways of being listened to that are enshrined in our constitution.
And do they work?
They don't work.
And that's the thing.
Exactly.
So how do you get to a place where, because, okay, to an extent, if we look at what happened with the Nepalese just a couple of days ago, with because of the deliberate nature of the protests, the Prime Minister resigned for one of two reasons. Number one, he was either scared for his life, or number two, he got the message and said, okay, you know what, I cannot be here dabbling in this thing when there is so much corruption. Whether it could have been that he felt he made a mistake because of the social media ban, or that actually, hang on, these folks are serious about this thing that they're saying about corruption, so I don't want to be part and parcel of it. But do protests achieve the end goal? Will we now, as a result of these protests that we've seen taking place, I mean, look, be honest, the very violent nature that the former minister was handled in, are we going to see now an entrenchment of the rule of law in Nepal? Will we start now, because people are very cautious about how they govern, that we will see a reduction in corruption? Are we going to see that state agencies are going to start doing their job? Will we see, as a result of Tuesday's happenings, that there will now have governance turning on its head in Nepal?
I think it depends, just quickly. It depends, because also remember, the people who really also have the mouth power is the people in leadership. Because it's the people who've already given power.
They're the ones who've mucked up the thing in the first place,
exactly.
Prof, and that's why there's protests against them. How can the people who messed it up be given the responsibility to fix it?
And that's why they're being kicked out by these people. You see, and then in all these places, there's a laid down format when such a thing happens. Even in Kenya, you know, people would say, oh, there'll be a power vacuum. No, it's very clear. If the president resigned last year or this year, then the next person takes in power. That's the speaker or the deputy. And if the deputy is not, the speaker, and after the speaker, there is even the constitution lays down 90 days transitional time. We have an election, and there is somebody elected. So us, but elites will always, especially the ones who have been fought, will always make it look like, oh, we're not sure this can be implemented. So for me, even in Nepal, I'm sure there's a whole procedure laid down, and they're going to implement it. Whether or not it delivers the agitations or the grievances is another thing. And there are many places, as you've said, that people have gone mass protests and nothing happened, or things got worse. But also remember, there are places where this has happened and things got much better. And I, like Prof had already said, the revolutions that those revolutions that we keep talking about that defined the world. The American Revolution, the French Revolution of 1789.
And none of those revolutions were without bloodshed.
Yes.
They were brutal. We think about it like there's a revolution and people came out in their top hats and their ball gown dresses and they stood in the middle of the street and they said, hand over power. And they said, yes, here you go. No problem. You've done a bad job. We are here to do better. No, people were scalped. People were butchered. The revolution was bloody. And that we speak about it today, but it did not pass through a very smooth channel, Prof.
But that's what we are going through now. The Gen Z revolution is going on. Some people are burying their heads in the sand. As we speak in Kenya, we are in the middle of a Gen Z revolution. Because tomorrow morning, somebody will wake up and say, we are going to the street, and the next thing you say, for the next 2 days, we don't have work. Why? Because it is not about who gets out. It's about the reasons that pushes them up to the streets. If the reasons are not addressed, then you are still in the revolution. That's why the removal of monarchies in Europe was seen as a solution. Because you have now removed the root cause of all the problems. In Nepal, they think by just sweeping the class, Asian class, the former ministers, former prime ministers. Remember, 3 prime ministers have been affected in this Nepalese revolution. In the sense that the former prime minister, and the current one are all put in one bag. The Nepalese are saying it is not about those we are kicking out. It is what they symbolize. And I think this is what we're calling the warning or writings on the wall. That for countries that are in the middle of Gen Z revolutions, in order to nip these kind of people-led revolutions, you need to go back to the good ways. And I like what Mai has said, that Prof, our constitution has answers to all our problems. Why? Because even it has answers to itself. If we are not happy with it, there are ways of changing it. We have referendums that enable people-led a change of the constitution rather than elite-led change of those constitutions.
I think it's interesting that you say that. Sorry, you're coming in just a minute, Jerry. I think it's interesting that you say that because holding on to power where the people of the country feel that, number one, you've done a poor job of it up until now, and then wanting to hold on to it then gives rise to things that we can see with the sentencing of Jair Bolsonaro yesterday to 27 years in prison. For what? For what? He's former president, military officer, but for what? Because him wanting to hold on to power even after his term was equated to a coup.
It's a Severian, they were calling it a Severian coup.
According to the people. And this is a man who served in the presidency, who now his lawyers are running up, from pillar to post to try and appeal the thing. But the likelihood of Bolsonaro spending the next 27 years in prison is a reality. Not because he stole something, but because he suggested that he could stay in power longer than a term constitutionally assigned by the people. These are things that are happening as we live and breathe. And so putting to that point that, it is not that we are demanding a certain thing of you in a position of leadership, of governance. You don't do that. We want you out. We're not necessarily saying we want to come and rule, but we want you out.
But that's why the instruments of power that are handed over to any leader who is ascending to a place of authority, primary of them is the constitution. And there is only one thing you are told and requested to do. Please govern us according to this constitution. And you swear, I am going to govern you according to this constitution. Where then does this idea of robbing us come in? What does this idea of displaying opulence, these, the wealth, demonstrated in public about what kind of shoe you're wearing, what kind of watch you are wearing, the cost of your sunglasses, the dollars you have spent on your car, which just move you from your house to our office, and it is costing us an arm and a leg.
So, Prof, let us flip the conversation a bit. Now that we all agree that the people in power have shown masses in different countries that there are things that they have done in excesses that have made the masses very agitated. But now that Kenya, we are heading to elections, and IEBC is now open for people to, take vote, you want to change your vote and all that. Let us flip the question. Do you feel, or what is your opinion about the voter? Because let's be very honest, if status quo remains in terms of what the voter did in 2022, the mass protest in 2028 we can't evade it. Because I have a problem with our double standards sometimes, because despite us saying that the political class is to blame, where do we get the balance between the blame we give to the political class and we, the voter class, and we, the common mwananchi? Because today, if you go to if me and you, Prof, go to Nyandarua County or Nyeri or Kisumu County, and we are both looking for the governor seat, me and you, in mind bearing that I am a Gen Z 24-year-old, you're a prof, you have amassed wealth over the years, you've made business, so in terms of resources, we don't come from the same par. when we go to mashinani and I'm maybe using public means and you come with a Prado, the common mwananchi, when they want to listen to a politician, they'll be more swayed to listen to you more than they'll listen to me. At that point, they won't pinpoint opulence. Even if you show up in, Rolls, whatever vehicle, Mercedes or Range Rover, they will not pinpoint opulence. In fact, chances are that in Kenya, they will ask, sasa huyu amekuja na matatu, atatuongoza aje, But then again, let's flip it back to what happens when we get into power. If when you went to campaigns, you went to the Range Rover, and now you are the governor, chances are you'll upgrade to a better model, right? Yeah. Chances are I'll start now driving maybe a Prado or something, right?
Yes.
And the public will start saying, now this is opulence, So where do we get the thin line between a balance between a voter's demands to the political class when they want to listen to them and accountability demands when they get into power, because we are forcing the political class to do elections like business, whereby if you don't have 50 million, you can't go to vie for a member of parliament. If you don't have 400 million, you can't go to vie for a governor. In Nairobi, if you don't have $1 billion plus, you can't even think of campaigning for the governor seat, So I feel like we need to look for a balance so that we don't burden one side and we don't bring double standards. Because if you are okay taking money from the political class during campaigns and you don't pinpoint that as opulence, but then again when they get into power you pinpoint opulence and demand for accountability, don't you think we are becoming double standards?
So let me start by making three points. First and foremost, as a political class, now talking about the IBC and related problems, you must be sure that if you want the stability of this country, do what is right, and as you go to election, aim to win clean without any questions. I was advising at one point the government of Uhuru Kenyatta at request, and I told them just before 2017 that you win this election, and I even gave the percentage would be 54% plus. But the problem will be you will not be able to defend victory. It's possible to win an election and you are not able to defend it because people are not convinced that you won, and people are not happy that you won, and people are not sure that you are going to do for the next 5 years what they want. So it's not about winning, it's about legitimacy, and that is what we should be aiming at. It is okay to win with 100,000 votes if people are happy. Like people are happy with what President Ruto had done in terms of his campaign. When he campaigned the astronaut, I was one of those who came out and said he won squarely because he had demonstrated. So 100 vote or 200 votes difference didn't make a difference. He was fighting against the government that time. But now that you're in government, you've got to have a better margin. Second, when I was running the constitution, I was the director. I had a problem because I said if we're going to get 50% or 51% or 52%, this constitution is going to be contested. We've got to get 65% and above. That's what I told President Kibaki. I said, what do we do? We get everybody out. Even yourself, get out. We all go to Mashinani and to convince Wanjiku that they need this constitution. We did and got 70%. Today, very few people question the constitution because at the electoral threshold, they got it. So this is why 2028 must be safe, or 2027 after the election must be safe, because you have worked towards a threshold that convinces Kenyans that you are legitimate. Okay. So that's one. Finally, we've got to do something about our culture of politics. And our culture of politics is nasty. It doesn't matter how educated you are. I teach at the University of Nairobi. I have not been paid, I think, since 2019. But I was telling one mine. Okay. Yeah, because I'm an adjunct professor. So how am I going to Muranga? And the government is holding my money. How is it? And it is also very retro. I think it's about 76 or something like that per course. So the point is, if you are out there doing corruption and doing business, as we call it, you are likely to be the leader. Are you going to give quality leadership? No. You are going to give this. So we have this vicious cycle, revolving door of bad leadership, people-led revolution, bad leadership, people-led revolution, because that's what we are at.
That's where we are. So just last words from you in about 30 seconds, Prof.
Yes, so I just agree with Prof. We have to change the political culture of Kenya, and the political culture is changing two things. The followers, these followers who want the Prado, Watu Benzi, the followers have to change, and I think that is through political education, and I believe that's what we are doing here. That's what even in political parties, Njeri, you do. So political education has to continue, and we have a political school actually online called the Fixed Politics SPPG, where we are trying to train people to start thinking politics differently, start looking at the character, the competence of the leaders. So that's one thing. Changing the masses, I don't know how, many, we have to do so much work. I like that a lot is happening. That's why we have a lot of Gen Z who are now holding the leaders to account. So we are making progress, but we need to do more. The second thing is the leadership, so the followers and the leaders, and the whole thing of political, the political class. We have to kind of make it unattractive also, to attract these businessmen and tenderpreneurs who like doing politics. And how would we do that? I propose that we should have, it should be compulsory, maybe back to a policy or something, that your children, for instance, cannot go to schools. If you want to be a politician, your children have to go to public school.
And public facilities, hospitals.
This thing of people telling us, I'm graduating, I'm so glad my daughter is graduating somewhere in Australia. It is such a bad thing that you even do it. The audacity of even sharing, And you run a public. You're part of those people telling the government, capitation, we don't have school fees, we don't have enough school fees for the poor children who we want to be like your daughter one day, to get a degree. So we have to make public office only for people who are servant leaders, and that way is by first reducing this thing. You cannot patronize private services if you're running the public system. I think, of course, schooling and hospitals, we will stop having those kind of funny people there.
Conversations that we can have for days, but important for us to do. And just looking at lessons from Nepal to Kenya, and how freedom of assembly shapes democracy. Professor Peter Kagwanja and Dr. Joki Wamai have been our guests this hour. Thank you for enlightening this conversation with us. Asante Sana.
Thank you.
Gone over 3 minutes past 9.
Thank you. Wow.
This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The Law Society of Kenya has invited the general public to stand in solidarity with the law fraternity as lawyers prepare for today's peaceful protest over the assassination of their colleague Kyalo Mbobu. In a social media post, LSK President Faith Odhiambo said they used the Purple Ribbon March, which will be observed across all 8 LSK branches, to demand justice. In Nairobi, lawyers will convene at the Milimani Law Courts and then hold a procession through Kenyatta Avenue to Vigilance House. They'll present a memorandum comprising their grievances to Police Inspector General Douglas Kanja. This comes a day after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions ordered Kanja to deliver a report on the killing within 7 days. At the same time, Interior CS Kipchumba Murgor said the Directorate of Criminal Investigations had interrogated persons of interest linked to the assassination.
I am happy to note that there is some progress that has been made. Some persons of interest have been identified, that those persons of interest are being interrogated, and many others are going to be sought. I pray that the DCI is going to be successful, and I promise that we will do everything to make sure that justice is served and that the perpetrators are arrested and brought before the court of law.
Meanwhile, Murgor is expected in Kisii County today, as is Jukwaa la Usalama tour of the Nyanza region enters day 2. The CS is using the forums to assess the current security situation, engage with local leadership and communities, and refine strategies to promote peace, cohesion, and stability in the region. Kenyatta National Hospital is preparing to carry out what's been described as a world-first facial reconstruction surgery on a 7-year-old boy who survived a bandit attack. Ian Baraka was 6 years old when he sustained devastating injuries after being shot in the face during a December 2023 bandit attack in northern Kenya. The bullet tore through Ian's lower jaw and exited through his mid-face, leaving him without large sections of bone and soft tissue. Given his young age, doctors ruled out heavy reconstructive surgery with harvested bone. Instead, they've turned to advanced technology, titanium implants, designed to expand as the boy grows. In Nyamira County, the family of a 20-year-old woman believed to have been killed by her boyfriend, who allegedly buried her body at a quarry, has reiterated calls for justice to be served. Addressing journalists outside the Nyamira General Hospital morgue shortly after a government pathologist conducted an autopsy on Kemunto's body, the family said she was strangled.
Mpasuaji wa serikali ameweza kutuambia Faith aliaga na strangulation. Pia amesema kwamba lazima majibu yaweze kuthibitishwa kwamba ni yeye Faith. So tunachokiomba kwa serikali ni kwamba waweze kuchukua hatua za kinidhamu kwa yule ambaye alifanya haya.
Tunaweza kushukuru security officers ile kazi wameweza kufanya tangu hii maneno igunduliwe. Na hapo tunapoendelea kusonga mbele pia tunaomba uchunguzi ufanywe kikamilifu na mhusika aweze kuadhibiwa kisheria.
One of South Africa's most notorious rapists and murderers, Thabo Bester, has taken court action to block Netflix from broadcasting a documentary about his life, including how he allegedly faked his death and escaped from prison. His lawyers argue that Beauty and the Bester was defamatory, but the streaming giant defended its plan to release the 3-part investigation. Bester's partner, celebrity Dr. Nandifa Magudumana, features in the documentary, having allegedly helped him escape. She's part of the court bid to halt the release. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
We do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
We continue at 11 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we continue going into something that we would all definitely want to, as we talk about this morning. We will. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We continue with things this morning, getting into the final conversation this hour. And even as we do, we're going to be talking about things around a marathon, but beyond that, the ecosystem around a marathon that we all know about. And we will want to know more things around what empowerment initiatives are around this for now. And 3 women join us in the studio this morning. As we get into these things and have this conversation, let's get into it. The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is one that has been around for a decade plus. And we've been having this conversation around this time every year as we get into it. But let's start to pick away at that. Joyce Kibe is the head of brand and corporate affairs with Standard Chartered and joins us in the room this morning. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Good to have you in the room today. And just not the marathon, but there are things around the marathon that we talk about. We talk about health, we talk about wellness, we talk about physiological strength and such. Elizabeth Wangi is the founder for Gwiji Women. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fine. I love the singing voice. Just definitely remind us about how we should be up and at 'em every morning. Betty Carrier Kim is a physiotherapist, and sports and wellness is also a lot of stuff they're into. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante, thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room. We're going to be dealing with a number of things this morning, so good to have you here. And even as we get into things, we want to settle you into the room. And so Ndu and Jerry with you now as we have this conversation. It's the first time, I think, in forever that there have been only women in this room.
That's amazing. Really amazing.
It's the first time that has ever happened, actually, I think. But okay, so let's see how we can continue with this conversation this morning. So we'll start with today's proverb. We'll tell you where that's from, and we would love to get your interpretation of it across board, right? Our proverb this week comes from Egypt, one of the oldest civilizations in the world. They did some fantastic things. Some of the most famous warrior women came out of this civilization. You know her as Nefertiti. She was one of the only with female leaders at that time. Wow. It's interesting. But this is the proverb for today. And as we talk about it, I would love to get your interpretation of it and just hear what you think in terms of what they were saying and how you can liken it to a proverb that you may have heard before, or how you would put that into context in today's world, right? So the Egyptians said at some time, as they were, again, warriors and thinking about when they fought and how they fought, this is what the Egyptian says, and this is what we pick up today. The mouth of a man is in his sword. The mouth of a man is in his sword. Start with you, Joyce.
The mouth of a man is in his sword. That's where the power lies, in his sword. That's what I think it is. So everything is manifested in His word. That's what I think it means.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Elizabeth?
For me, I feel like when you say the what? Come again?
The mouth of a man is in his sword.
Yes, I feel like saying the strength of a man is in what he has that he can be able to use to get to the next level. So I feel like in what it means basically for us is what we're able to do is we can be able to do great things by using what we have with us at the moment. So that's what I feel. And I also feel that for us, even for example, for me as in business, I use the knowledge I have to be able to empower others. So that's how I relate to that proverb.
Okay. Yeah. And what about you, Betty?
Actually, I believe that when you say the mouth of a man is in his sword. Yes, I believe that we have everything that it takes to be successful and to make everything come to life. Yes.
We have everything that it takes. Okay, interesting.
We have everything that it takes. That's the sword that we have in us.
It's great. I love how the human mind works, because then what you think makes sense to you and you're able to see meaning in the definition or the description that comes from somebody else. All right, Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon has been taking place for years and has been looking at the impact, not just people coming together on a particular day running, but what it does for lives after. And we're just going to get into the conversations and the ecosystems around the marathon and the different ways in which lives have been the future. And we're going to look into future makers and what all of this is about and what impact it has. So this marathon this year, for some reason, and you'll tell us what that is, there seems to be some greater focus on women either participating and then being benefactors of the proceeds from this. Why is it such a big issue at this time and in Kenya today?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. So we've been running the marathon for the last 22 years. This is going to be our 22nd edition, and we're going to have the marathon on the 26th of October. If I can just give you some of the statistics, we get about 48 to 49% of women participants registering for the marathon. And one of the things we do is we charge you a registration fee of about 2,500. Where does this money go? It goes to future makers. So this is one of our initiatives where we help young people, especially the youth, people with disabilities, and especially women to learn and grow. So that's why we have this emphasis around it. And we've been doing various initiatives where we are helping them through employability, entrepreneurship, as well as education. I want to focus on, say, two programs that we've had around future makers through our program. And this is where your registration money goes. One is a gold program where we've been helping young teenagers to be able to have skills in terms of mentoring, know how to run businesses, for example, bookkeeping, and also get access to finance. We also have another program called Women in Tech. And Women in Tech is where we have startups who come in, especially tech-led businesses, and they're able to start their businesses. We give them skills in terms of mentoring, and they're able to scale up. To date, we've been able to support about 77 businesses, and that's why Elizabeth is here, and she'll be talking about it because she's one of the beneficiaries. And we've given them a total of 50 million shillings to start their businesses. So you can see what the marathon does. It does impact women. One, by coming to participate at the marathon, and also impacting generations because of the businesses that they are able to run.
Okay, so what opportunities can women who participate or the beneficiaries gain after participating in the Nairobi Marathon?
Okay, that's a great question. Number one, we have colleagues who come for the marathon. We have participants who also register for the marathon. And then we have very many volunteers who come in for the marathon. As I said, One of the things is the registration money is going to help future makers, and they're able to learn and grow. So one of the things is the many businesses that we are able to set up. We have very many programs. We have Goal. We have 7 employability programs running in universities across Kenya, as well as Women in Tech. For example, we've run Women in Tech for the last 8 years. We're now on our 8th cohort. It's at Strathmore University, and every year we get 7 beneficiaries. So you can see, by just participating at the marathon, you're able to get these skills and able to grow your businesses, or even get some access to finance. And that's what the marathon does. One more point about the marathon as well. All of us, I started maybe with 2 kilometers, moved to 5 kilometers, 10, then 21 kilometers. It's a marathon. You learn wellness, you train. Today I ran, I was running because I had to come here. But before I came here, I did my morning run. And that's because I want to make sure that my mental wellness is top notch. And that's what Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is all about.
Okay, so even as we look at the ecosystems around the marathon, it's not just coming out on a Saturday and running, that there are things that happen beyond that. So we started hearing about future makers, a while ago when the marathon started, rather, well into the marathon, we started hearing about future makers.
Right.
You are a beneficiary of that, Elizabeth, and now you formed Gwiji Women, Gwiji for Women.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and what it is all about.
Yes, so I'm the founder of Gwiji for Women, which is a tech startup which empowers women from the urban informal settlements, or what most people call the slums. And we work specifically with Mama Fuas. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of what Mama Fua is, but as you walk or even as you drive around Nairobi, you normally see this group of women that sit outside our residential estates waiting for an opportunity for somebody to give them work for that day. To be able to earn some money and take back home to their children. So these are the women that we empower at Gwiji for Women. So actually Gwiji is a Swahili word that means the best. So we help the Mama Fuas to become the best at their work. So how we do that is we help them overcome barriers. There are barriers that prevent them from excelling this work. So for example, I'll give one. Most clients have problem trusting some of them. They feel like if I invite them to my home, maybe I'm scared something might be stolen. So what we do at Gwiji is we vet them so that if you're getting a cleaner from Gwiji, it's somebody you can trust. We also train them because most of them have not been trained in the work they do. So we train them so that they can become more confident. And in terms of clients are able to get the value that they want out of them. And lastly, we are taking them off the streets and into the tech space. We have a mobile application which is available on both Google Play Store and App Store. So where clients are able to place their orders, and the cleaners, instead of sitting outside at the comfort of their home, they are able to get decent work. They're able to earn from 1,000 per day working on the platform. So this is a lot of money that enables them to better provide for their children. Like, as they work on the platform, they report that putting food on the table is no longer an issue. Keeping their children in school is no longer an issue. So that's what we do at Gwiji. As Joyce said, I'm a beneficiary of the Women in Tech program. I was actually part of last year's cohort, the 7th cohort. And the program really opened doors for me.
Did you run the marathon?
I've run in previous years. Last year, actually, they gave me the platform to be able to exhibit and also talk to people about my program, and I got a few customers out of it. So the program has really supported me in so many ways. But even before Gwiji had participated in the marathon, but I was surprised to know that Kenyans, whatever is gotten from the marathon is empowering women like me. And since I discovered that, I feel like Kenyans are rooting for me to succeed in my business. They are really supporting other businesses like mine, and that gives me the drive to also empower other women, because I know if Kenyans are investing in businesses like mine, they also expect something in return. And for me, I feel like empowering more women in the society is my way also giving back to Kenyans who are supporting me in my business.
Right. So tell us about, it's clear we have an impact story of the future makers. So the money that you give into the tournament, rather into the marathon, it's going towards programs like this. Tell us some of the impacts that you've seen from the Future Makers program as a result of the marathon.
Okay. Women in Tech, being one of our flagship programs, has benefited about 70 women startup programs. We've raised about 35 million shillings and given benefits. So one of the things Elizabeth maybe did not mention, we gave her, say, 1.2 million shillings from that cohort. She was a beneficiary. And one of the things we do, we make sure that these women, not only do you get the skills and the mentoring, you also have access to an alumni after the marathon. We want to give you a topic such as ESG, bookkeeping. Everyone is given an opportunity to, things that you'd not imagine. For example, access to finance. How do I apply for a bank loan and I'm able to succeed in doing that? So that's one of the programs. I mentioned a program called Gold Girls. Gold Girls is a program that we ran. It's run globally across Standard Chartered, again from Future Makers. So the proceeds, again, from the 2,500 registration fee that everyone contributes towards the marathon, is to support teenagers. And for here, teenagers, we want them to become street smart. As you face the society, what do you do? How do you do the basic things, let's say like bookkeeping, sewing, you name it. We want our girls to be well equipped, and then we give them mentoring services. And then the other one is all about employability in universities. So we have this program and a curricula for the universities that you may be, let's say, a third year or a fourth year. You're about to get into the job market. But how do you get to the job market? You have to have a good CV. Is it a 5-page CV? Of course not, because you don't have all the experience. Probably. So we teach you how to to have a good CV, and then how do you interview properly, so equipping you with the right skills. Those are some of the programs or the impact that we've had, and we can demonstrate it. So just making sure that, one, we give women, people with disabilities and the youth access to finance, education, as well as mentoring. There's another impact as well, and this is through making sure that people take care of their well-being. So as I said, in the marathon we have elites, of course. The elites are few, maybe 250, 300 who register for the marathon. Then we have recreational runners. Betty is one of the recreational runners, and she'll be telling us her story. And then we also have families who just want to run, because it's a fun day. And some of them have started, not some of them, I know everyone has started training, whether you're doing 5 kilometers, and most of them come with their whole family, and you can walk, run, and have fun while you're at it. And there's some who also come and do 10 kilometers, 21. What I've seen with the marathon in the last 22 years is every year someone graduates. If I do 5, next year I may be doing 10, next year I may be doing 21, and some do even 42. We've seen runners in Kenya, or even from our marathon, graduating to world-class marathons outside Kenya, as well as signing for the world majors. So I'd say the marathon has a huge impact, and to beneficiaries, and also to the economy. Very many people come to the marathon. Impact last year was to the tune of around 340 million shillings. That is what we did in terms of impacting the economy with the marathon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this year, what message do you have to the participants of this year?
Okay. So one, I would like everyone to come participate for the marathon. Please register. Just know whatever you're doing, when you pay that 2,500 shillings, you're going to impact someone's life. As we said, you can see everyone here, from Elizabeth's story, to the teenagers, to the people with disabilities, to the youth. There's a story, and your contribution will make a difference to someone's life. So please register for the marathon and make a difference, and just know that every step you take during that run is going to empower someone else.
Okay. And so for you, Betty, just you participated in the marathon. You do so, when they say recreationally, but you also then run a wellness and physiotherapy clinic. Excuse me. So how did you prepare for the marathon? Usually you think, okay, I'm going to register for the marathon, then I'm going to show up and run, and then, okay, things may turn out differently. How did you prepare, and how do you encourage folks to prepare?
Actually, I'm a physiotherapist, but our clinic, most of our clients are more of recreational runners. we see the athletes, professional athletes, but the majority of the clients are the recreational runners. So out of influence, when you see those clients, they tell you their problems, you're curious. So at first I volunteered as a physiotherapist, but I never volunteered as a physiotherapist. I stood on the along the road to support people with water, but I was very tired and was like, I never do this again. I'd rather be the person being supported. So in 2023 I tried the half marathon, but despite being a physiotherapist, I never put in the work of preparation of the marathon, and I really suffered. I swear I'll never do it again. And again, 2024, I signed up for the half marathon again, but with the goal of beating my time for 2023, so that at least I can have I can brag about the good time that or the time improvement. But actually, with the lesson that I learned from the previous year of the marathon is what I now sharpened. I did more training. I worked with a coach. I worked with I did more physio. I could learn. I could see whatever I see with people suffering with. I could avoid the problems that we face with running when you're not prepared. And not this time around, I was more intentional. Yes. So it is just growth. And actually, the training is a little bit brutal, but the reward is so rewarding that you feel like you need to upgrade to do another one. Yes, actually that's what I usually say. I was out of curiosity, I got myself doing a half marathon, and by accident I found myself training for a full marathon. Okay, so the full marathon is what you're going to do this year? This year I'm going to do the full marathon. I'm going to participate in a full marathon. Yes. Okay. So how do you encourage folks to get ready for the marathon? Preparation, it has to be holistic. You have to work with a physiotherapist, you have to work with a coach, you have to work with a nutritionist, and you have to have a community that helps you do the practice and training. That's why you have many clubs. Shout out to my club, Brand Fit. So that's why we have many clubs that bring you, and they just help you get better. Because by the end of the day, in all sports, most of the warm-up is running. So, and this for the marathon is not only it's not only done by the people who run. It's done by people who work out, people who play other games like football, like tennis. They all come together and do the marathon. So the preparation is what matters. Okay. Physio, having a coach to train you, and having a club that supports you so that it can motivate you. Yes. All right. Let's take a break at this point. It's 20 minutes to 10 o'clock. We're having a conversation this morning around the Standard Chartered Marathon, and we're going to find out the different places it's going to take place this year, and whether you can also get on the leaderboard in one way or another. Joyce will tell us that. Elizabeth will also come and tell us a little bit more about, how this is impacting, and a little bit more about preparation from Betty. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this. Cool.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Looking for convenience, variety, and speed all in one place? Welcome to Digger Shop, the official e-commerce platform by Standard Group PLC. From the latest electronics and fashion must-haves to home essentials and unique Kenyan crafts, we've got it all. And guess what? Enjoy countrywide delivery within 48 hours straight to your doorstep. Shop smart, shop secure, and shop with confidence. Visit shop.digger.co.ke. That is shop.digger.co.ke. Digger Shop. Dig it, shop it, love it.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation this morning, and we are having a conversation around the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. And even as we continue looking into what it entails for this year, Joyce Kibe is here, Elizabeth Wangi, Betty Karia-Kim, and we are looking at issues around it. So, let's look into it, Joyce. So just coming back to you, as we said, we're coming off from the break. When we look at the marathon and all the ecosystems and everything around it, there are certain things now that folks are saying, okay, well, it's just in Nairobi. Folks who are not in Nairobi maybe either have to travel to Nairobi, but we also know that in previous years we could actually run in Mombasa, run in Kisumu. Is that the same thing this year?
Okay, cool. So this year we're going to have a big warm-up race in October 19th. It's going to be happening in Mombasa. So that's a pre-marathon race. And if you're not able to come to Nairobi for the main marathon on the 26th, you're more than welcome to Mombasa. We'll be giving out medals, and we plan to have a really great experience. So that's what we'll do. We'll also have it in Nairobi on the 26th October. So 2 centers, Nairobi and Mombasa this year. Yes, dates 19th as well as 26th.
And does it all count to the main marathon?
Yes, it does. It does count. The main marathon is on Sunday. We always have it the last Sunday of October. So 26th of October. Please be there on time. It will be an interesting, exciting experience. Yes.
Every year for the marathon, there's a different theme. Although it goes towards the future makers, there's a theme. Like this one, obviously, the emphasis is around women.
Yes.
How have we seen, and even as we now segue to Elizabeth, how have we seen that, or how do we hope to see that from the proceeds of this, that it will impact and affect the lives of women and the different things that they do?
So the first thing I can say we see is, when we look at the numbers, we look at how many women are joining the races, and if they're joining the races, which races do they want to participate in? I can say 10 kilometers and 5 kilometers is where most women want to play. And what we've done is we've put in programs, training programs with various coaches, whereby we encourage people to sign up and start training for the marathons. And we've seen a surge, especially from recreational runners, running clubs, joining these training programs to be ready. And then you see more and more women registering for it, training from either 5, 10, 21 or a full marathon. That's one of the things that we are seeing coming through. And I think by putting these things in place, we are getting the numbers to come up higher, to rise. The second thing is also telling the story about where are we taking all this money, and it's through future makers. We're always showcasing all our programs. There's something we do every year, which is our sustainability report, launching the sustainability impact report, and it's just showcasing what are the sustainable programs that we're doing across Standard Chartered, be it in our operations, be it in our business, as well as our communities. So one of the things I can say is we have very many programs. We have, for example, with vendors, we do promote women-owned vendors to participate with Standard Chartered. And then secondly, the community programs like Future Makers, what we're doing, we're encouraging the women. So impact is felt all around within the marathon, and we continue to do that as Standard Chartered. Yeah.
So Elizabeth, how do you feel knowing that this program that you joined, bearing in mind the impact that it has given to you, and in that same line, what would you tell to a businesswoman who is out there who wants to start a business, and you want to inform them how you joined the program, how it has impacted you, and how you look at the future of your business?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So for me, the program has been a game changer for me because, my background is not in business or in tech. Actually, I'm an architect by profession, but I happen to be in a different field. It's not just me. Even most of the people that I graduated with are working in a different field from what they studied in school, and you find that there are so many challenges. For me, even before I joined the program, I was feeling stuck. I wasn't so confident because I'm in a different field. I was always doubting myself. So the program really gave me the confidence that I needed, that I'm on the right path, I'm doing things in the right way. And one of the things that I learned from the program that has really helped us to take the next step in our business was the idea that we need to diversify. It's not something that I knew at that point, but in business I was feeling like we are stuck. There's something we need to know, but I don't know what that we need to do to take the next step, but I wasn't sure what that was. So when I joined the program, I was told that we need to diversify, because we used to just have mamafua, which is you place an order and you get a vetted and trained cleaner, the same way you do with an Uber, and that's it. But it was limited in terms of how many women you could take on, because it's only one thing that we are doing, and a lot of women wanted to join us. So we were able to diversify, where we have a variety of services, but still in the cleaning sector. So for example, we are working with the Airbnb customers who hire these women on permanent basis. So what this does for us as a business, it helps us to take on more women. In terms of these women, it gives them consistency in their work. So imagine you've moved from doing like on demand to having like a permanent position where you're earning a higher income. You're able to plan your income, and with this we are finding that most of these women are able even to save some of their surplus income. We have a few of our women who have actually transitioned from Gwiji to starting their own small businesses, and I would say this is because of the program. I didn't just get the business skills that I was lacking, I also got some funding. So with that, I was able to launch a new app with all these new services, where now as a business we're able now to increase our revenue almost 2 times what we were making before. In terms of customers, we are giving them more value, because previously somebody would say, I don't need a mamafua, maybe I have a house girl, but you have a carpet, you need it cleaned. So that's where Gwiji comes in. So we are getting more referrals, and it has really taken us to the next level. And on a personal level, as a business lady, as a young lady who has faced so many challenges, I felt it helped me overcome a lot of barriers that I had. So to other women out there, if you want to start a business, or you're already in business and you're struggling, especially like right now, where times are very hard for many people, I would say don't be afraid to say that you're struggling, and at the same time look for networks. For me, I knew I needed somebody to take me to the next level, and that's why I looked for this program. And once I got in, I took full advantage to be able to take the lessons that I needed to take my business to the next level. So I'll tell all women who are watching me, if you're struggling, don't think it's only you. That's very normal in business, so ask for help. And I just say, like they say in the Bible, I'm a Christian, like knock and the door will be opened for you. Seek for networks like Women in Tech that can be able to take you to the next level. Okay.
So, but even as you helping people get prepared, we're looking at the physical part of it. Is it possible to think, okay, well, we could have the thought that, okay, I'm not doing too badly off, maybe walking every now and then. Must you actually run the thing in preparation for the segment that you want to run in or participate in?
No, everyone has their ability. Some of us will run with a goal of having a particular certain. We are running to beat our PB. You'll hear most of us want to run under 2 hours. Some people want to do under 150. But when I usually advise the people who start running, it's good to walk. You can run. Yes. What matters is the preparation and how you're going to avoid having injuries. The preparation before the marathon, during the marathon, and after the marathon is what matters most of the time.
Okay, and what is that? What is the preparation before, during, and after?
Before the marathon, you have to do lots of training so that you can avoid injuries. So it's prevention of injuries fully. So you have to do physiotherapy. We advise you on how you're going to carry. We see you and advise you how you're going to do your marathon, how you're going to start it, how you're going to hydrate, to make use of the water points that the marathon team has put it for you. Make sure that you have done physio during the training. The training program takes a little bit. It can be 12 weeks, but it always depends on what the distance that you are taking. We advise you on how you're going to start, the paces that you're going to do. If you're walking, we advise you on the shoes you're supposed to wear. We refer you to the experts who have running shoes. We refer you to nutritionists who are going to advise you if you're supposed to take something, because some people are diabetic. They advise you on the food that you're supposed to take during or before. We advise you on what precautions to have, especially if you feel a muscle pull or anything. We advise you a lot. We treat you. We make sure that we give you the confidence as you show up in that marathon. You are going to be taken care of. Because the marathon team has already put many measures around. They have an ambulance, they have the support team, they have physios on the road. Yes. And there's also the cheering squad to keep you going. Yes, that's the most important thing.
Okay. And, okay. And then what about after?
After the marathon,
people don't show up at work on Monday morning because they say, I ran the marathon.
No. There's always a tent for first aid in the grounds or in the stadium. So we take care of you. But if we see that you have an injury, we always refer you. We always refer you to a physio, and that's where I come in.
And what about recovery? Even just recovery from running this thing, it's not. You may not be injured, but you spent some time,
Yeah, the stretches. Yeah. We do stretches on you. But we also advise you on how you're going to do stretches at home, just in case you have you're feeling so much pain. That's where we have ice baths. We advise you on what you can do immediately after the marathon if you have too much pain. We advise you on the stretches to take, and if it's you need to be referred to a specialist like a physiotherapist, then we refer you to them. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so you said 12 weeks. Yeah. So we're in September, and so if you haven't really started for training for the marathon by now, is it too late?
No, it's not too late because let me tell you, walking, this marathon is not necessarily that you're going to go show up and run. Some people don't have the capacity to run at the moment, but some can walk. And again, there are different distances. So 100% what I'm going to do is to prepare you mentally to show up for the marathon. I'll prepare you mentally so that when you show up in the marathon, you are confident on yourself, and it's never too late. Yeah, it's never too late to sign up for the marathon.
So looking at the broader community, what lessons have you learned from the role that the marathon, Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, plays in impacting the community engagement, the fitness, before and after?
What I've seen with the rural community as the marathon has really helped us. You see, let me assume I'm a first timer. When you go there and there's a lot of interaction with different people, that is one. And then you all start challenging yourself during the marathon. So the win is that everyone has been brought here with one cause, to move your body. So the impact that it has put before the marathon is you are fit. You become fit, or you become intentionally prepared for the marathon. So the fitness journey is already a win for you, and the health journey is already a win for you, because when you're fit, you're in good health, or healthy and you're healthy. You're in good health and you're fit. Yeah. So, and the broader community, when you say what's the win with the after the marathon, is that we'll see people intentionally going to continuing doing the walks. They will be repeat runners. They will maybe start going to the gym, because it's a win. Actually, I usually say, like, it turns out to be a little bit addictive to keep fitness. When you keep fit, you start having good problems, being addicted to good things.
Yeah.
Like,
that's interesting because Joyce, you, I mean, yes, you know, head of brand and corporate, but at the same time, you mentioned that you ran.
Yes.
You ran in a couple of marathons already. So is that true that now it kind of sticks? It becomes part of you. You want to keep fit, even if the marathon is a year away, you want to keep, it becomes a lifestyle?
It becomes a way of life, and I can just demonstrate. So, I mean, before I even enrolled in Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, you know, I had no clue, like, okay, probably I need to have a formula, and the formula is running 4 days a week, and you run between 45 to about 75 minutes. It's about time as opposed to distance. And before that, I just used to do, I'll do 2, I'll do 5, you know. But now I have a proper structure. I know, for example, Friday is supposed to be hill work, because if I don't do hill work training, when I go to the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, there's a slope, and I'll be in so much pain if I have not trained for it. Tomorrow, which is Saturday, it's a weekend, you do a long run, which is approximately 120 minutes. So you see, all these lessons I have learned through Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, just training myself and being able to do it. Now, even after the marathon, I still continue. I reduce the time I'll run, but I make sure that 4 days a week I'll be out there running. And sometimes I'm lazy, I'll walk, which is perfectly okay. For me, the most important thing is by doing exercise, it improves my mental well-being, and it just makes me a better person, and I'm sharper and more alert. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, how do you feel knowing that because of this marathon and all these things, people are getting ready, people are training, people are running 120 minutes on a Saturday morning, and look at all these, different things that are happening for people to come together. How do you feel that because of that, it has impacted a business that you've then been able to work on, has birthed a business that you've been able to work on and can impact other people?
Yes, it feels very great. It feels like it's Kenyans doing everything they can to support Kenyans, because they also know there's an agenda to empower other business by them coming for the marathon. So for me, it feels like it's Kenyans who have put their all to be able to come for the marathon, support other businesses. And for me, especially in business, it gives me that strength that even when I want to give up, I remember that Kenyans have given everything they can to come for this marathon and support me and other businesses. So that's like very empowering for me. I feel supported. I feel like I have all the tools, and Kenyans are really rooting for me to win. So that makes a big difference for me, and I'm sure for the other women that are beneficiary, because they know we don't want to let Kenyans down. Kenyans have given you all the tools. So for us, it gives us that power to continue making more impact. Even my fellow cohort members, all of them, we have one thing in common. We are all having impactful businesses that are also giving back to other Kenyans. For example, for me, Kenyans are able to give me through like the support they offer, we support we get from women in tech, and through that support that I'm able to empower. So I also feel that responsibility that I have to use this support that I've gotten to be able to empower other Kenyans. So it's very powerful, and I think even for other women who are part of my cohort, that we are constantly in communication. It's something that keeps them going and a constant motivator. Yeah.
So maybe let me ask that cuts across. Now that you are a beneficiary and a direct beneficiary, you understand that every year there is this marathon, and your business, it being that it has benefited. Do you, at a personal level, feel the need to every year maybe set some finances aside from your business to just ensure that maybe some of your employees, maybe some of your mamafuas who cannot afford to pay, do you feel like you need to also give back to society? And also, again, in terms of the fitness, do you take it as a challenge and maybe feel like this is my time to also go give to another Kenyan the same way that I've been given, the same way that I would call you rotate the empowerment from me, the beneficiary, to another beneficiary, and then that beneficiary now the next time will be a beneficiary to the other one.
Yeah.
Does it go round?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because for me, the first time I went for the marathon, I was working for a corporate and they wanted to empower us as employees, and that's how they paid for us, and we went for the marathon, and it was a very empowering moment. We were able to bond as employees. I even interacted with some employees that had not interacted in that place that I was working previous to Gwiji. So for me at Gwiji, I feel like I also need to give back. And one thing we normally do, the team from Gwiji, they normally come for the marathon. For example, last year we were displaying, but the team that was not part of the booth, they were also participating in the marathon. Some of them were in the 10 kilometers and 21 kilometers. But for me, even goes beyond the marathon. Anywhere I feel I can give back, for me, I'm very much open, because I know these are the initiatives that are helping businesses move forward and creating impact in the society. So for me, anything that involves giving back, I'm all about it. And for me, it's also deeper, because for me, I come from a very humble background. Like, I grew up in the slums, and that's why I do the work that I do. This is the work that my mother used to do to support me, and it was through this work and also other people supporting her that I was able to get an education. So for me, giving back means everything. And even me doing Gwiji is also giving back to my community, because I finished campus and I realized that nobody had come to save these women. And I knew people were sleeping hungry because their mothers are really putting themselves out there, but they're not getting work. So I felt like I also need to come back and do something for the community, and that's how I founded Gwiji.
Are you going to run in the marathon this year?
Yes, okay. Of course. Yeah.
What would be your message? I'm going to ask it to Betty and Joyce. What would be your message to folks who are preparing for the marathon this year? Actually, let's start with Betty. What would be your message to people who are preparing? I know one of the things people think we can, buy new shoes and wear them on the day of the marathon.
There's always a first time in showing up. When you show up, that's how we showing up for the marathon. But there's always a first time, and everyone has done mistakes in running. Me, being a professional, I've also been ignorant, and I've faced the consequences of being of not preparing well for a marathon. But the win in this is always not being a better person the next time, because for me, I've really won mentally, especially when it comes to running marathons, preparing for marathons and all that. But the message I always give people is that no matter what, when you show up for that marathon, trust me, it's going to change your life in one way or another. Physically, mentally, you've impacted someone else's life. Trust me, you're going to impact someone else's life, who is going to impact someone else's life. It's a chain. Yeah. Actually, for me as a runner, I'm a total beneficiary of my clients who really plugged me in many things, and that's where it has been a win for me. They plugged me in with a coach. They plugged me with a please sign up for this club. This club plugged me for with a race to do, and that's where I've gotten to where I am. And it is a win for me.
Yeah.
So showing up for the marathon is a win. It's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah.
Joyce?
My parting shot would be, I'd like to encourage everyone to show up. We are going to be 30,000 of us on 26th of October. It's going to be great fun. And every step that you'll be taking, you'll be improving someone's life. You'll be impacting someone's life. So show up and let's run further. Together we run further for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon.
Remind us how we're registering for this, and up until when do folks get to register, and what do you register for?
All right. So log into nairobimarathon.com. Registration is currently open. We are currently at 17,000 registrations. We're going to close at 30,000. So I'm pretty sure it's going to close up pretty soon. Please register. I do not want anyone to be left behind. So register as soon as you can. Can sign up for 42, 21, 10 or 5 kilometers. There's going to be good fun. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So, and that's a question about the shoes because it's a big one. Why can't I? Yeah, the shoes is a question, Betty, because folks want. I want to look snazzy on the day. Should I not wear the new shoes that I bought on the day of the marathon?
No, it's good to practice on the shoes before because sometimes the shoes. It depends. You go to a shoe expert. We have one. We have one in Nairobi. They Run and Beyond. They advise on your shoe. There are people who are pronators. There are people who are spinators. So they advise you on the what? The people who are flat feet. The people who are pronators. How they step.
Yes. Inward step, outward step kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. So they do an analysis of your leg. They see the size of the shoe that you wear. You go to the next size. You always do a +1 size. Yes. Some people have small feet, thin feet. Some people have wide leg. Yeah, that's what matters.
So you should run in a shoe size larger than your normal shoe size.
That's correct.
Yes.
Probably half a size or one size up, and that's because your leg expands as you run. So you want to have room as you're running. Yeah. And as Betty said, just make sure whatever shoe you're running with on that particular day, make sure you train before with them.
You train.
Yes. To avoid injuries.
Otherwise it will.
Yes.
Okay, so then I guess folks are preparing, getting ready for the marathon, and the impacts. That it's not just the day. It's not just the last Sunday in October, but it's many days after that in terms of impacts, obviously, from what we can see, and getting into a healthy lifestyle. That's the ecosystems that we started off with, that this marathon actually is breathing life into. Ladies, thank you so much for being here this morning. Joyce Kibe here, Betty Kariakim and Elizabeth Mwangi. So great to have you here and just talk about, it's not just a run, but it's actually going towards a lifestyle and impacting lives.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for making the situation room part of your morning this entire week. It's always great to have those conversations. Jerry.
Yes.
You made it.
Yeah, thank you. So we appreciate the audience. We appreciate the many comments. We appreciate this kind of conversation, and hope to see you next Friday.
Definitely. Well, there's a conversation. Definitely. Thank you so much, and everybody have a wonderful weekend. We're getting to more conversations next week. Good morning, 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The High Court in Nairobi